First, that was the performance they've been waiting a very long time for.
All of them last night, even down to the manager, they got it absolutely bang on.
To me, that was probably England's best performance I've ever seen.
Jeff, Gabby, 3 words. 3 words.
Don't do it.
It's coming home!
Down to 10 men, problems at right back. Rice on a yellow after 1 minute. Harry Kane told us England still found a way through.
That's only going to give us more momentum, more belief, more togetherness. Nights like this will only help that. So yeah, I just want to celebrate it. I don't want to think about the next one yet. I want to celebrate this for the next couple of days, and then obviously our full focus will be on Norway.
Now, after England's 3-2 win over Mexico, Thomas Tuchel's called the officiating not good enough. He couldn't believe the VAR intervened to send off Jarell Quansah.
I still struggle with the decision because it's no foul given, and then it goes straight into a red. The penalty, I think VAR can never get involved in a penalty like this. This is never a clear and obvious error.
Well, before he leaves number 10, maybe Sir Keir Starmer can put a call into Gianni Infantino. Following Balogun's overturned suspension threatens to become one of this World Cup's biggest stories. UEFA are saying a red line has been crossed after the White House helped overturn the USA striker's suspension. Belgium are appealing that decision before their quarter-final. Neymar appears to have called time on his Brazil career. That's after their defeat to Norway. Carlos Queiroz has stepped down as head coach of Ghana following their World Cup exit. Sandro Tonali is now officially a Spurs player. That's for a club record 100 million. And Oliver Glasner looks forward to building a long-term future at Nottingham Forest after being officially unveiled as their 5th manager in the last 12 months. More on all this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
It's Prince Harry versus the Royals again, and European wildfires impact lives, holidays, and one of the great sporting events. More with Toby in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Heatwave outside, oven inside. Stay cool this summer with a free aircon check. Book online or visit your local QuickFit today.
Rain across northern and northwestern Scotland. Dry for most of us though, sunny spells, breezy, very warm in the south.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT. So, 10-man England battle past Mexico into the quarter-finals. Confidence, belief, momentum. Was this England's World Cup lift-off moment? Meanwhile, Balogun's suspension overturned. How can a country's government be allowed to impact sporting integrity? Also today, will Jesse Marsch forever be open to ridicule? Postecoglou to Saudi. Is that a fit? Turkey's peace summit. What next for boxing? And as Brazil go out, where does it leave Don Carlo Ancelotti? It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. It's as if we'd never been away. Is it not?
Indeed.
How has your homecoming been?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, good. Get back into it. Life goes on. Everyone goes on.
Yeah.
Everything evolves.
Yeah.
And no one misses you, unless you make them miss you.
Yes, I see. Anyone who's stayed up, and there are many of you, will aim to get you through any kind of mid-afternoon slump you might be experiencing. The 2 a.m. wake-up call, was it worth it? How are you feeling out there this afternoon? England did the job, that is for sure. Did you stay
I
up?
watched it. Yeah,
You stay up. So did I.
I woke up at put my alarm clock at 12:55.
Yeah.
After I had my child's birthday all day yesterday, so I was knackered.
Yeah.
And then I watched it. Yeah, I'm very impressed. Much more impressed than the previous games.
And coming off the back of the Norway result, I was thinking, this World Cup, the Netherlands gone, Germany gone, now Brazil gone.
Yeah.
They're going down like 9 pins.
Well, Norway are a good side. I mean, let's get it right. I mean, they've got quite a few Premier League players in there, so they're almost like a Premier League side, and they've got a forward in Haaland.
Yeah,
that is a remarkable forward. You know, he in my view, he's the best centre forward in the world. I know that we will argue for Harry Kane, but I think he is the best centre forward in the world, and he's at the beginning of his journey. And there's so much more to come for him. So if you imagine if he keeps himself fit, what Haaland is going to be capable of doing in his career. But in this instance, Norway are not this idea when you close your eyes and you think of Norway and you think of them as a minnow, they may well be in terms of their population, but they're not in terms of football. This is a tough game we've got coming up against the Norwegians.
Are you worried about Norway?
I don't think you should be worried about anything. I think you should approach everything with some degree of, especially if you're the players and the manager, of enthusiasm and excitement.
Yeah.
But I think we should be taking this game very, very... I mean, we will be taking it seriously. It's silly to say it's not. But I think to say that this is a gimme, this is anything but a gimme. They're going to have to beat this side.
Yeah.
Really beat this side, because this side will come to play. This side will fancy that they can beat England. This side's form going into this World Cup was moderately irresistible in terms of the amount of goals they've scored, and they've been half decent in the cup, in this World Cup. So they are very fitting quarter-final opponents. Don't be under any illusion that they're not.
Oh, yeah. I saw a bit of a call to arms from Stala Sol back in the dressing room in a previous game, and anyone who thinks he's shy and retiring...
shame he wasn't shy and tiring when he was the manager of Wolves, right?
Right.
Because he didn't pull up any trees then.
They are up for it, as you say. We shall see what happens, because almost incredibly, Brazil gone, and England now face Norway in the World Cup quarter-final this Saturday, 10 p.m. for that, live on talkSPORT. Only now am I kind of getting my times right, now that we're back over this side of the pond. So, Tuchel. Now, what should the opinion be on Thomas Tuchel? Would that have worked out in the way it worked out, Simon, last night had Gareth Southgate been in charge? We don't know. I know it's hypothetical. But confidence, belief, momentum. Was this England's World Cup liftoff moment, do you think?
Well, this is a game based upon its individual merits, because I don't think the Mexicans are as good a side as we are. If you're looking at the fact they've got a 35-year-old centre-forward that's now playing in the Championship as their talisman to some extent. Yeah, they've got a 17-year-old midfielder that's going to be a real talent coming forward, but they're not a great group of players. What we were playing against was the occasion. We were playing against the expectation. We were playing against 90,000 fans in the Azteca, building up this incredible, feeling and the history of the event and all of the circumstance. We were playing against that, also playing against ourselves because of the poor performance we put in against Congo.
Yeah.
So all of those things will have put us into a situation where we had to perform at a certain level. So we didn't outplay the Mexicans. We outfought them. And I don't mean... We outfought them on both levels. We outfought them in terms of Thomas Tuchel and the manner in which he sets his team up, and the manner in which he adjusted to the circumstances. And we outfought them on the field because our players showed what so many of our fans will appreciate, which was an indomitable spirit. They wanted to win.
So are you the Brad Friedel glass half full now?
I've always been in that camp. I just think you've got to call things for what they are. You can't turn around and say...
Well, you were glass half empty after Congo.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I thought it was a poor performance. And no one else could not say anything different. It was a poor performance. They won the game. If you replicated that performance against better opposition, you're going to go out. They didn't replicate that performance. Now, I still maintain the same thing, despite the fact that the French were stymied by the Paraguayans for a bunch of reasons, and one of them is because we were being kicked off the park. It's difficult to see, in that performance against Congo and that performance against Panama, how England would overcome someone like France.
Yeah.
Now, as Thomas Tuchel said, we're not going to play glamorous football. We're building into the tournament. You'll see these players coming in. And one of the things that I took away from him was about how the players use certain moments in the game, certain bursts. And Declan Rice and the ball from Pickford, and Declan Rice carrying that ball 55 yards up the field, dropping it into his player who plays alongside at Arsenal, and developing the Arsenal thought process, and that goal that Bellingham scored was the embodiment of what Tuchel was talking about.
Right.
The embodiment of it.
Right. So we'll hear from Tuchel in a second. But in terms of memorable England performances, where does that one rank?
Well, listen, because it's a World Cup, and because there's so much expectation, and because people know that they brought in Thomas Tuchel to win the World Cup, because Gareth Southgate created a legacy of teams that have been in tournaments that have gone deep now, and the English disease of not qualifying for tournaments, or when we get there not being very good in them, has sort of been slain, albeit we know that we weren't good in the Euros, but we still got to a bloody final. So the idea that the feeling about English football internationally now is on a different scale. So I think it ranks up there. I mean, you've got to factor in the opposition. You have to factor in the opposition. I know that people will say that the Mexicans have never been beaten or been beaten in that stadium twice in 60 years.
Yeah.
But the opposition they play against ain't that great.
No.
But you can only beat what's in front of you, and England should be taking every last ounce of plaudits out of this.
Are you in the Martin Samuel camp in the Times? Martin saying this was without doubt one of the greatest performances in England's World Cup history. This century at least, maybe all the way back to 1966, it's hard to put any one result ahead of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm slightly different from Martin Sam. If I say something, I can debate it with people, not have to worry about going to a studio because I don't want to go in and debate it with them. So I have a different view on what I do and say and what I don't write. But I think there's a lot to be said for that. Yeah, I mean, look, we are very jingoistic at times. We're very prone to getting ourselves into situations where we say things that, that subsequently we wish we hadn't said. But you look at it and you think of the performances in recent times. And I've been in the position of saying, who have we beaten that we shouldn't beat? Now, I think we should have beat the Mexicans. So I'm not trying to be a miserable sod. I think we should beat them. The only thing that would have beaten us was the occasion and the expectation and the altitude. The altitude didn't play any factor, did it?
No.
We managed our way through that easily. The players managed, with due respect, the players managed the expectations and the pressure.
Yeah.
And the Mexicans were inspired by their crowd, but they were... despite the fact we had difficult times in the game, which you're going to have at international level, we were the better side.
Sure.
We were the more composed side at times.
Now that we're back, we want to hear from you. And I want to say to everybody who called in while we were in New York, thank you for that. It was good to hear from you this side of the pond. But we'll hear from Tuchel in a second. But in terms of memorable England performances, where does that one rank? And is this England's World Cup liftoff moment? That's what I want to put out at this particular time. Was this the moment, liftoff for England over in the USA at this World Cup? Well, more accurately, in Mexico last night. This was Tuchel post-match.
It felt in the build-up, it never felt like a round of 16. It still now doesn't feel like a round of 16. It feels almost like we won a final or something. This last moment where the referee takes the whistle to his mouth and you know that you overcame it 40, 50 minutes with 10 men in the altitude against the home country, against a strong Mexican team. You just like, this is a moment of joy and it is a heroic performance and a heroic result in the end.
Not that in any way I'm trying to water down your performance and where you've got to in this tournament. But a group of Croatia, Ghana and Panama, followed by a knockout path of Congo, Mexico and now Norway. Have England been impressive, Simon, or are they lucking out with a favourable route?
Well, what we've always said is that what I've always wanted, because you draw the comparison between would the Southgate team have done this and would the Southgate team have done that. And when we talk about lift-off, we're not a bloody Harrier jump jet. We don't just lift off in games, we build towards situations. But, of course, they've had fortunate opportunities against lesser teams because they won their group, which gives them the privilege. They go into the tournament massively seeded because of their positions in previous tournaments. These are all the coefficients that factor into the bigger sides. So what we do and what we will judge Tuchel by, and some might judge him by the Mexican result. Some might say we might never have got that result under Southgate. I'm not so sure. But going into the game against the Norwegians, that will still be perceived as something that we should win.
You should.
But when we play the semi-final, if we get to that point, and we've got Argentina or France or whoever the hell we get, we win that game, then all bets are off for the discussions about what Southgate did in comparison with what Tuchel did.
Agreed. But if Southgate was four-leaf clover boy, what is Thomas Tuchel in this first major tournament?
To some extent the same. Good draws, but they're all getting good draws. I mean, they're all getting decent draws, aren't they? I mean, people would say that, obviously Portugal and
Spain
might say that's a bit of a belter, but actually playing Mexico in their own stadium as one of the host nations who haven't conceded a goal, with 85,000 fans, a game being messed about by timings, and fans, the whole focus in life is to try and disrupt the team, is also a difficult game. But you don't play against the fans, you play against the opposition. So England have had a favourable draw. They've all had favourable groups to some extent. They've all got groups that have got lesser opposition, because you can't help but have it because you've got 48 teams.
I must admit, I'm personally delighted for Bellingham. And well do I remember that conversation I had with him down at the Den years ago, and I've mentioned this many times, when he played a blinder of a match for Birmingham, came out at the end and chatted to me. Young lad, hope to do big things in the game. Hope to do big things in the game. I mean, Simon, is it mad there was ever a debate in this country about whether or not Jude Bellingham should and would go to this World Cup?
Well, I wasn't in that camp, so I can't qualify that. But to suggest that people were thinking about it probably shows you the length and breadth of how they view Jude Bellingham, or what perception they've got of his season at Real Madrid, or what they view football to be. He is an elite performer. He is one of the best players we've got in our team. You would not consider him not being in the side if you're a serious football thinker. And so the serious football thinkers in the room, which are the ones that matter, which is Thomas Tuchel, took him and put him in the starting lineup. For guys like us that opine on it, and for the so-called football knowledge in every room, which the players that have played it, they will say that everyone would have said that, you know, Jude Bellingham, everyone would have said, because they know what he's capable of.
Oh, yeah. He's
and he's getting better. He's getting
a different level.
He's getting swagger about him now. He's getting to the point where now he knows he's at this level and he can do at this level. And the 2 goals were goals created by others for him. Sure. But he was in a position to execute them.
Now we're back. Come and join us. And I'm going to put it to you this afternoon. Almost said this morning. This afternoon. Confidence, belief, momentum. Was this England's World Cup liftoff moment? Give us a call on that. Let's hear from you this afternoon on our show. 03717 223344. Are England fans right to be getting somewhat carried away with what might yet come, or would that be naive? Where are you at with your thinking as to what this might end up looking like? 03717 223344. It's good to be back.
After that US-Bosnia match on Wednesday, where Andrew Giuliani, who, if you've been listening to White and Jordan in America last week, actually joined Jim and Simon for a fiery conversation. He initially alerted Trump to the fact that a red card had been given. On Wednesday night, the lobbying began from senior US officials. And then on Thursday, it's believed Donald Trump called Gianni Infantino and asked about FIFA's rules around the red card decision. Now, FIFA insists the decision was made by an independent panel made up of 18 people. However, it hasn't said whether this was decided through a vote. It hasn't published a report on the decision. The US Soccer as well say they've been engaged with the process, but argued slow motion replays distorted all of it. But essentially what we're seeing as the hours from this unprecedented incident come through, that there was multiple instances of contact between senior US members of the government, including Donald Trump and Gianni Infantino. And interestingly, Thomas Tuchel was asked after Jarell Quansah was sent off, what precedent does this set for him?
Where does this start and where does this end now? Can we overturn it or not overturn it, or
is that something that
what is going on?
You'll seek to pursue, because, like you say, there's surely a chance. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, where to draw the line is the question that I ask. I have no answer to that. Where does this end now? Do we appeal if a yellow card is not a yellow card? Do we think it's not a red card, or who thinks it? Where does this start and where does this end? Is my question. I don't have an answer.
Let's be honest. You should have put the phone down on Trump when you phones him.
Yeah, but you
never would.
But when you create a FIFA Peace Prize just specifically for Donald Trump, that suggests that there's a close relationship.
And the Belgian coach, Rudy Garcia, summed it up amongst many things that he said. We're not defending the national team. We are defending football. And I think he's absolutely right. And in my view, Gianni Infantino cannot continue. His position is untenable. He should quit.
You can see the game, can't you? Balogun, goal. You just see it already, can't you?
Yeah.
He's going to be the difference.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan coming to you from the 17th floor of the News Building here at London Bridge. It's good to be back. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan on talkSPORT in partnership with Tool Station. First stop, Tool Station, as I used to scream on the 50th floor of the World Trade Center. But did that with gusto because we thoroughly enjoyed ourselves out there, as we are doing back here. And the World Cup continues to hold as much intrigue and interest as it did before, even more so probably now that Tuchel and England are getting into full stride. Confidence, belief, momentum. Last night in the Azteca in Mexico City was that England's World Cup liftoff moment. And maybe on top of that, are England fans out there, many of you, are you getting carried away with what might yet come, or is that a bit too early? Is that a bit naive? Give us a call, and many of you are doing that. 03717 223344. Simon is beside me. Let's go, Grant. Big Liverpool fan and England fan. What do you think, mate? Was it the big lift-off moment for you in Mexico?
I'd say for performance-wise, yeah, I think that's what we needed. Like, if we're comparing to, like, results, I'd say 66. Sorry to bring that up, Jim. I'd say that's obviously the greatest result. But if we're talking performance, I'd say, like, in the 1990 semi-final, we played really well but lost on penalties. And obviously the famous England 5, Germany 1, that was a qualifying match, so that doesn't count.
Yes,
but I'd say for the World Cup finals, I'd say this is exactly what we needed. Like, after the Croatia start, and then obviously the stumble in the middle, and then we're just starting to like, is this really going to work? But I think we had everything against us. We had, we're down to 10 men, we had penalties, the atmosphere, everything, and we overcome it. And it just feels like this is the true beginning now for a 2-2 game, basically.
Yeah, and is your expectation, Grant, that you'll overcome Norway?
I think my heart is saying yeah, and I'd say my mind is also saying yes. Of course it is.
Yeah. Grant, good call. Thank you for that. Jamie, big Birmingham City fan. No doubt you're as pleased as punch for you, man, Bellingham.
Oh, absolutely buzzing. Absolutely buzzing. I think they're absolutely terrific. Him especially, I think it's funny, isn't it? Because prior to the World Cup starting, there was some news outlets that were suggesting that he shouldn't have even gone to the World Cup, which is just outrageous considering, quite frankly, is there a better midfielder than Jude Bellingham in the world right now? I don't think so.
Probably not, Jamie. Is there, Simon? I don't know when you think about it. I mean, I have to say, Simon, he was extraordinary, even by his standards. He was extraordinary last night.
Oh, yeah. There's some good players in the French side as well. So, yes, he's one of the top players in the world. Absolutely. Otherwise, he wouldn't be playing for Real Madrid. And what you're seeing him now is doing the job that's being asked of him. And we are seeing the athlete. He's not had a good season, so you have to judge people on the here and now. This time last year, everyone would have told you that Cole Palmer was one of the best midfielders in the world, but he got dropped on the basis of his performance. Jude has not had a great season for Real Madrid, but you see past that because you know that he's capable of operating at this level. It's very important, I think, and it's not trying to be a curmudgeon. We've got to treat both imposters the same way. We mustn't get too high on this result because I'm telling you, if we get beat by the Norwegians, which I don't think we will, but if we were to get beat by the Norwegians, it will come crashing down because in the psyche of the public, I think, people are going to still think Norwegians are there to be beaten. And they've just dumped Brazil out. Now, Brazil are not mugs, but they're not the great Brazil side of the past.
Yeah.
But they are this Norwegian side with Haaland. Do you think a 35-year-old centre-forward is going to give those two centre-halves a bit of trouble in Jimenez in the way that he did against Guerri and Konza last night? Kwanzaa. Wait and see what Erling Haaland does.
I agree, but you would expect to get through this.
I think you're in the quarterfinals of a World Cup. If you take it prima facie on form, Norwegians are there on good value. They qualified in a hurry with a plethora of goals. They've played well in this tournament and they're now peaking as well. They've just dumped out the Brazilians that had the Ancelotti factor. And look at the Brazilians. It might not be a great side, but look at the names they've got on the team sheet.
But you're going as favourites, Simon.
We'll go in as favourites, yeah. But by the same token, this idea that we celebrate like rockets and we get depressed when we lose, I think we've got to find some balance. It's one thing calling out a poor performance. It's another thing forecasting doom there and afterwards. I didn't forecast doom. I said if we play like this again, then we'll lose. We didn't. We played better. But also the opposition played differently against us. The opposition didn't do what Ghana did to us, didn't do what Panama did to us, and didn't to some extent, once the pattern of play had settled down in the first 5 or 10 minutes it elapsed against Congo, didn't do what they did to us.
I agree.
They were more open.
But Jimmy, I'm coming back to you, but do you not think, Simon, this was a lift-off moment? Because apart from one half against Croatia, it's been well run-of-the-mill stuff. And it's been quite negative. Now this is a lift-off moment in the Azteca.
Well, I suppose
England clicked.
As I say, did they had some irresistible moments in the game, but what they did was they showed an indomitable spirit.
Sure.
Now, is it good enough to have an indomitable spirit. Is that going to win you the World Cup? I think it's a component part of it, but then you need to have this innate ability to be able to be better than the opposition. An indomitable spirit will get you to some parts.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Jimmy, where does last night rank for you in terms of England results?
In terms of my lifetime, I think I can only think of two. I think one of your callers touched on it before, but there's only two performances that I can think of that sort of rank amongst those, and that would be the Netherlands game in '96 and the Germany 5-1. But I was just going to say two things as well. There's two things that I think that are quite poignant here. I think under Southgate, and I think he's done a really good job. Under Southgate, I don't think we'd have won last night. I think we probably would have drawn and gone to penalties, maybe lost one or two things. And the second thing, what are your thoughts on maybe Dan Burn starting the next game? I thought he was tremendous when he came on.
Well, he came on for a reason, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he came on just at the right time and slotted right back into that defence and did a job. And sure, yes, I was impressed by him, but he was a man for the moment, was he not, Simon? Nobody better at that particular time.
I mean, listen, Dan Burn to me is a decent defender, but no better than that. And I think if you put him in against real top opposition, you might find that there are questions asked of him. But in that galvanised spirit, put your body in the way of everything, throw yourself in the front of the ball and absolutely beat your chest metaphorically. Dan Burn's built for that, isn't he?
Yeah.
Physically and mentally.
Briefly, Leicester fan Matt, I want to come to you. You've been waiting patiently. Was it lift-off last night for you?
Yeah, but I've enjoyed the tournament in its entirety. Like, we've got no right to just expect us to dominate teams from start to finish, not concede chances or goals. But I'm always of the opinion you start the tournament expecting them to win, then you'll enjoy every single game when we inevitably don't win a game and get knocked out. I just can't understand, and this gets to my main point, people that start the tournament going, oh, we're rubbish, we're nothing compared to France. All right, don't enjoy the tournament, don't have any fun with it. And on the France point, I'm really tired of how much they're getting pumped up. Don't get me wrong, probably are the best team in the tournament so far. They had a really, really sticky first half against Senegal. They were crap against Paraguay. Now, if you put England in those shirts, all of a sudden, like, Paraguay's a crisis because we can't break down a sticky team. Oh, we're only good at one half of Senegal. We're so easy to look at England's faults and pump up like the better parts of other teams. If you make a combined 11 with France and England, goalkeepers, flip of a coin. Neither team's got anything that looks like a fullback. Saliba gets in. Upamecano, Gay, equal. Rice and Anderson definitely get in. Elise Bellingham, flip of a coin. Mbappe, Kane, flip of a coin. Gordon, Bacola, flip of a coin. Dembele probably gets an over Saka. Now, you cannot be telling me the way that people have been talking about these two teams on that combined 11 that we shouldn't be overconfident.
No, never made a call. You should get a show of your own, mate. This was magnificent. I mean, how about that?
Well, a lot of what he says is right, but also depends how you approach sport. I don't approach sport with a participation medal in hand. I don't want my child growing up knowing that winning isn't important. So I approach a tournament with I get my fundamental enjoyment out of winning. If we're going to lose, it's because we lose with our boots on. It's lose because we get beat by a better opposition. It's not because we didn't turn up. Yeah. So I approach the tournament not expecting England to win. I expect them to be the best version of themselves. But I approach life as a challenge to win, not to participate in. And I disagree with a lot of the observations about which players. I'd put Mbappe in any side, in any space, in any part of the universe.
Yeah, this is true. So many of you calling in. We're not going to stop there. The other side of this break, we'll hear more from you. 03717 2233 44. Following England's win in Mexico City, incidentally, Adrian Durham, Stuart Pearce, Jim Proudfoot bring you even more reaction in the latest episode of talkSPORT World Cup Daily Podcast, available on all your favourite podcast platforms now. It's 1:30 on a Monday afternoon, and we're live in talkSPORT.
Andros, there was a lot of standout performances, wasn't there? You know, look at Gordon, I thought it was fantastic. I thought Saka done well for the first goal. Pickford, outstanding saves as well. But Jude Bellingham. I mean, 4 goals, 1 assist, 3 man of the matches so far in this World Cup. How good is he, mate?
I think so far this tournament we've seen an energetic Jude Bellingham. He hasn't been at his majestic best with the ball, but this morning, last night, he was amazing. The way he was jinking past defenders with his trickery, wiggling out of 2 or 3 players. It really was one of the best players in Europe. It really was a really top performance. But for me, the man of the match was Anthony Gordon. I know he's had his criticism, but that energy and intensity he brought in and out of possession, I don't think England really needed it, because we didn't have it with the altitude. Not many players had that energy. So to see Anthony Gordon closing down people, especially for the second goal, when he got England up the pitch, his 1v1s, he was dominating them. His delivery was good. It was really pleasing to see.
Yeah, look, he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, you mentioned it there, Andros, you know, with the altitude and the huge effort that went in, particularly with 10 men. Are you concerned at all about how much is left in the tank for Norway?
To be honest, I think we need to just enjoy this. Let us enjoy this for 24 hours. Let the boys rest and recover, and then we can start thinking about Norway. But they also had a tough game against Brazil a few hours before, so it's not like they had 24 hours or 48 hours longer to rest like Mexico did coming into this game. So I think both teams will be feeling it. It's been a long old tournament.
Iconic. There's no other word. An 18-carat gold trophy that owns the world, and it waits. It waits for 4 years. It's 1971, and FIFA need a new trophy to replace the Jules Rimet, so they launch a worldwide design competition. And in his studio in Milan, 50-year-old sculptor Silvio Gazzaniga immediately gets to work. But instead of sending FIFA a picture, he goes further and makes a prototype they can hold. It works. FIFA choose his design over 52 others, and perhaps the most beautiful piece of silverware or goldenware enters the beautiful game. Let's let the artist himself describe it. Gazzaniga said the idea was to create something symbolising exertion, dynamism, and the jubilation of an athlete in the moment of victory, with all the joy that contains. The malachite rings in the base fitted the sculpture well because it's green like a football field, and it's also a precious stone. The first captain to lift the trophy was Franz Beckenbauer in 1974, and of course, it's only the greatest who get their hands on it. Zoff, Matthias paved the way for the modern-day heroes who dreamt of lifting Gazzaniga's masterpiece. But there was something about this man holding it that seemed to deliver everything the sculptor had imagined. Were I to ever redo it, the artist once said, I wouldn't change a thing.
It is indeed. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan this Monday afternoon back in London. We're live in talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation. I came back and took in a bit of Wimbledon last night. Lisa's doing that on a daily basis. Lisa, good afternoon. What can you tell us?
Is the gift that keeps on giving, Jim, and Alex de Minaur is underway on court number 1 against Flavio Cobolli, and it's worth mentioning, if you are a friend of the Italian, the chances are you'll be getting a Wimbledon towel for Christmas. He is top of the league of players collecting the iconic souvenirs. 3 games all in the first set over there. Here on centre we've got 2 men's matches following, including the Battle of the Wildcards. Bulgaria's Grigor Dimitrov and Great Britain's Arthur Ferry. But first, what promises to be a sizzler, 2024 finalist Jasmine Paolini taking on the Filipina phenom Alex Ayala. And in case you missed it, for the 9th year running, there will be a new champion's name on the famous Venus Rosewater dish after the exit of all the former winners over the weekend.
Yeah, interesting. Lisa, thank you very much indeed. Talking about winners, England went to the Azteca in Mexico City and won by 3-2. And next up for England is Norway. Not Brazil, but Norway in the quarterfinals in the Miami Stadium this coming Saturday. You would think England will get through that. You would think. But as Simon says, take them lightly at your peril with people like Haaland walking about. In terms of what happened in the Azteca, was this England's World Cup liftoff moment? 03717 223344. Great to hear from so many people calling in this Monday afternoon. Makes us glad we're back on air. Adam, big Wolves fan. Where do you stand in that in terms of liftoff? Was that the moment, do you think, Adam?
Afternoon, guys. How are you?
Good afternoon. Good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Simon, you'll be happy to know that I agree with about 98% with whatever you say. Well, it brings me on to my point. I do think it's liftoff, but we showed 3 things last night that I'm nearly 40, and I don't think I've ever seen England show these 3 things. And last night, when I was watching it, we showed heart, we showed passion, and we showed character. Now, just throw that talent in that we've got, and we could go all the way, but we have to show those 3 things. Norway are not going to be a pushover. I watched them against Brazil. Brazil are not the team they were 10, 15 years ago. But Norway were not letting them settle on that ball at all. And I don't think Brazil showed the passion, the heart, the character, but we showed all that last night. And that's the reason why we walked away and we went through to the next round. We need to show those 3 things again.
And I think, Adam, it's hard to disagree with what you've said. I mean,
yeah, I think that's right. I think the circumstance, though, dictated. I think we would have looked dreadful if we hadn't have shown that spirit yesterday. And I don't mean dreadful in terms of our performance on the field, in terms of tactical abilities. I meant that we had to fight these guys in their own stadium against the backdrop of all the adversity, against all the noise in the background saying that they were sending out, marching bands outside the hotel, about the way that the game was put back, against the absolute intensity, everything that was done by English players when the keeper came out, when Pickford came out, he was roundly booed by a half-filled stadium.
Yeah.
So the intensity, it pulled forward an even greater intensity from the England players, I think. But you're right, but I think those are the fundamentals. I think if you play for I think probably it's a bit unfair to suggest that at times they didn't have the heart in other incarnations, because I think people would say to get to a European Championship final, 2 of them, and to get to World Cup semi-finals and World Cup quarter-finals, you will have exhibited some heart.
Sure.
But the adversity of playing in that stadium, these are big players, and they showed they were big players.
Absolutely. Adam, thanks for the call. Sam's a West Ham fan and England fan. Sam, I was in Oxford Street on Saturday when I got back from America, and a West Ham fan, very nice fellow, and his son came up to me and he said, "We're looking forward to next season because we'll win a whole bunch of games in the Championship and there's no VAR." Do you share that view, Sam?
Yeah, well, VAR would be great for the first thing. I mean, who wants that? That's horrendous. But I think we'll win the league, next season. I'm not being naive, but
there you go.
I think with Nuno at the helm and keeping most of our players, it's looking positive at the minute anyway.
Right. Now, what about last night? Was that your lift-off moment?
Definitely. That was a Tuchel masterclass last night. I've been waiting to see him do something different to past England managers, and he set us up perfect. That was a tough game against Mexico in their own stadium. The fans, I thought the atmosphere was off the scale. For England to go there and in front of their fans, with all the atmosphere and stuff, I thought they played amazing, to be honest.
Good man, Sam. Thank you for that. I cannot disagree with that, Sam. Even at that time in the morning, it was edge of seat stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what.
Yeah, because there was so much intensity in the game. There was so much, and the way that the BBC, I watched it on the BBC, built it up, and they showed all the historic footage of that particular stadium and the circumstances, and go back to 1986 and all that goes with it, and so on and so forth. And I just think that the game was built for this kind of performance, because we were being led to believe that this altitude thing was a massive thing, albeit Liam Gallagher thought it was attitude, didn't he? The attitude was a problem, not altitude, apparently. And then you see all of the things that they had to go through in the game.
Yeah.
You know, they controlled the tempo for the first 20 minutes. Brad Friedel described it, and England played almost in the way that Brad described they should play, which is take the sting out of the game, keep the pace of the ball in the way that you want to, because Mexico are going to come onto you, get to the first hydration break, and then see where you are, because you'll have got your second wind. And all of that came to the fore. And I just think that to now take that forward is an interesting one, because it's a different game against Norway, different dynamic.
Yeah.
And so, again, just making it about an indomitable spirit, we will need quality on the ball. We'll need Saka to look better in terms of, because there's something, for me, there's something wrong with him. He's not fit. Because whilst he created the first goal and it was brilliant, he's not the Saka that we've been watching week in and week out earlier on the season.
Did you think it was a masterclass?
I think it's a masterclass of managing the media. I think he's a masterful operator. I don't think it was a master class, because we were in a game that we
on
had
the
to
pitch.
fight.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was a master class.
You got down to 10 men.
Yeah, I think we did well. I don't think it was a masterclass. I think we can see better things from Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah.
What will be a masterclass if we see our hands on that trophy at the end of the tournament? Then we can talk about masterclasses.
Yeah.
This was a great piece of work in progress.
I mean, tactically, he did the right thing. When you go down to
He's
10.
painting a nice picture, and he got a particularly good part of the picture painted well.
Right.
But the picture will look much better when the whole picture is painted. But I like him.
I like that.
I've always liked him. I've been sat here for 2 years saying that he is the difference. I love the way he conducts his interviews. I don't think he gets fazed by anything.
Right.
I think he takes all, like the players say, despite the fact there was a lot of remonstration last week about what he was doing with Jed Spence, to be honest with you, what he was doing with Jed Spence is what he thought he needed to do with a player whose biggest faith in him had been shown by Thomas Tuchel, because he picked him over others.
Right.
So this idea that he was bullying him and berating him and not getting the best of him probably is completely against the premise of what he's actually doing.
Right.
I like him. I think he's got a lot about him, and that's the reasons why he's an elite manager.
In Miami this Saturday, Inter won Erling Haaland, who got a couple of goals, and Brazil exited the tournament. Haaland signed a 9.5-year contract last January that keeps him at Manchester City until 2034. And Alpha Inge Haaland, Erling's dad, spoke to the Zone ahead of the match, Simon, at the weekend. And he said, well, Real Madrid, he says he's very happy at Manchester City. He's got a long contract. We're waiting for the new season, but anyone would want to play for Madrid. You never know what can happen in football, that dreadful phrase that's used so often. But does Guardiola's departure, Simon, make Haaland's City future any less secure, do you think?
Well, I don't know what his relationship will be with Maresca, because we know we had a relationship with Guardiola. He signed for Guardiola. He didn't sign for this fellow. So there might always be a change. There might be a drop-off in City. Maresca might not be the person capable of delivering City the outcomes that they've become accustomed to.
Yeah.
Albeit last couple of years they haven't won a title. They'll soon get back in the saddle. That can be clear, given they've spent £130 million on a central midfield player. Their ambitions are clearly in that direction. He will go, in my view, to Real Madrid. Tragically, that seems to be the destination of all the big players. So at some point, do I see him serving out his 9.5-year contract? No. It doesn't matter. It's not a case of if; it's a case of when.
I mean, you might say insecurity is almost impossible with a 10-year deal, though, isn't it?
I don't think that kid suffers from any insecurity. Do you? I mean, I've encountered him firsthand. I don't think he suffers from any insecurity. He might suffer from a lack of manners, but he doesn't suffer from any insecurity. He is a hell of a player.
But in terms of City's hold on him,
not really. That just commands. So if Erling Haaland walks into XYZ person's office at Manchester City and says, I don't want to play for you anymore, and I really don't want to play for you anymore, and I'm really going to make that clear, and I'm going to put transfer requests in, I'm going to do all kinds of things because I don't care about sign-on bonuses and loyalty bonuses. I'll get paid by the other club on the way in. What's City going to do then? City will. I mean, of course, they are a unique phenomenon. They've got the power to sit there and park him in the reserves if they want to, but they're not going to do that, are they? They're going to do business, and he will eventually, at some point, leave Man City, and the Man City fans won't begrudge that. But what you want to do is find a club that you don't really want Madrid, this arrogant club that operates in a certain way, to constantly be the go-to point.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, legacy is legacy, and whether I like it or I don't like it, these great clubs that that exist that in this country, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, that have had heritage, often supersede the premise of the clubs that are slightly newer. They've got greater achievements. Man City got great achievements than a lot of them, certainly in the most recent times. But they'll not fall into the same breath at times.
But we're seeing Real Madrid star players really shine at this World Cup. Bellingham is shining. Mbappe shining.
Vinicius Jr. did he?
No. True. All roads lead to the Miami Stadium then for England next, up against Erling Haaland and Norway, and it's live on talkSPORT this Saturday. We're live with you now, this Monday afternoon.
one on Portugal against Croatia. Portugal won 2-1 in the end. Ronaldo, of course, getting his first knockout goal with a penalty straight down the middle. What did you make of the controversial VAR decision?
Well, I think hair's very overrated, don't you, Gab? Very overrated.
I don't think you need it, mate.
No, exactly, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of
but
course. Both of you.
Who
right?
would have talked? Don't mess with the ball.
So I've got the Mitchell brothers in here.
Well, don't you think in the marginal gains that in future managers say to all the defenders, whatever, by the way, get your head shaved.
That's a very good point.
It's nonsensical. Honestly, it is so ridiculous that we're talking about a hair follicle and you're talking about Snicko, right? VAR wasn't brought in for that. And when I don't know, you've probably seen it. When you're looking at it, right?
Hard to tell.
The ball doesn't change flight. The spin of the ball doesn't change whatsoever.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I agree with everything you've said. I agree with you. But here's my question: was it offside?
What, according to Snicko?
Well, according to the laws of football, was it offside?
Not really.
No, because we're not 100% sure that it's actually touched. You know what we're going to do now is right.
I know, but it was offside, right? I agree with you, Perry. You won't get an argument from me.
Was it offside?
But because it's touched him.
How do you know it's touched it?
Because the microchip in the ball has told us that.
Right. So that's how mad that this is that we're talking about. Everybody thinks you're talking about cricket, number one.
Yeah.
Right, with the Snicko, right?
Yeah.
That's not. Football was about emotions and losing your mind and celebrations and exalted moments with your friends, your family, aunties, and on the pitch as well. VAR was brought in for Thierry Henry's handball for France against Ireland.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com. The Playbook with talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or visit talksportbet.com for all the latest odds and offers. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Now then, he was out in the USA with us. I'm talking about talkSPORT Bet and ambassador Ryan Douglas, who is with us back in London this Monday afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Ryan.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, mate. Good. This is it's much more kind of
intimate,
cozy,
yeah,
intimate.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It is. I told you guys. I said I was back a week before you two, and I said just soak it in because everything's the same back here. And now you're back on day one.
Yeah.
Are you missing New York, Jim?
I'm missing aspects of it for sure.
Yeah.
And I just thought that people were just brilliant.
Amazing, weren't they?
Amazing people over there, apart from some of the Knicks fans who wanted me jailed. Anyway, I survived that, and England survived the Azteca in spectacular style, and now we're talking about England-Norway.
I know.
What are you thinking there, Ryan?
An early look at it, yeah. Let's have an early look at it, how it corresponds with the betting with talkSPORT Bet. And are we the favourites is what everyone will be asking. Yes, we are. In fact, we're not just favourites, we're odds-on favourites, which we weren't for Mexico. So according to the betting, we're in a better situation against the Norwegians. But, of course, that is just against the odds there. Now, in terms of the narrative, there's always a narrative. There's always an undertone. You guys have spoke about it a little bit already, and it's Erling Haaland, of course. There was altitude chat, and now the altitude is Erling Haaland. He is his own altitude. talkSPORT Bet have boosted Haaland to score any time. And it hurts me to say as an England fan, but you have to look at that possibility. It's boosted to 6-4. I guess the question is, which you've been talking about, you will continue to talk about, is how do England cope with Haaland? Because is it more of an advantage, maybe one for Simon, is it more of an advantage for Gahey to know Haaland's game? or Haaland to know Guehi's game, or is it an advantage for neither?
We can all know one another's games is whether you can combat it or not. I mean, I'm sure that with when he played against Arsenal, Gabriel or Saliba have known his game. It hasn't stopped him from pulling him around like a ragdoll, has it?
True.
I mean, both players. I mean, he is a phenomenal centre forward, and I don't think there's been a centre half that's been able to lock him up. No. Lock up the ball to him, stop the supply to him. That's how you take Haaland out of the game. But he only needs one touch. I mean, how many touches did he have in the game against Brazil? 8 touches or something ridiculous?
Do you trust England defensively, Simon? Last night probably cements a bit more trust. But do you trust them wholly?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're good defenders. I mean, I think that obviously Guehi's a good player. The thing with him when I was talking about John Terry the other day was about the goal that was conceded against Congo was about defensive organisation. And I think when you've got 2 central defenders that are on top of their game, top of their space, that are leaders, that are very acclimatised in their clubs, very acclimatised at international level, they'll be in the space of telling people where to be and what not to be. And I don't think Guehi and Kwanzaa are at that stage yet, but they're getting better and they're getting more acclimatised. They've been part of a team now that's been seen to have a performance that people think is at the high end of England performances. They're all about galvanised spirit. But you're not... I'm not sure they're an immovable object, but I am damn sure that Haaland is an irresistible force. So if they're not an immovable object, and I'm pretty sure that Haaland is an irresistible force, he will get a chance and he will take it. It's about what we do offensively. If we keep a clean sheet against Norway, it's because we've stopped the supply to Haaland. If we don't stop the supply to Haaland because Odegaard's clever and gets some opportunities for him, and Sorloth maybe he's a bit better in this game than he was in the last one. Yeah, if they get a chance, they'll score, and then it'll be about what we do going forward.
I do salute you for going down the irresistible force, immovable object route, because it is a tongue twister.
I know. I thought that.
But you just—I don't know about you, Ryan. I just sat back and let him go with it.
I won't attempt that on air.
But he conquered it, and he conquered it live.
Very well.
Bellingham, Kane. Where are we going with that then, Ryan?
Yeah, I know. Well, a national sweetheart. If we didn't know that already, he certainly became one yesterday with his post-match interview, telling everyone to go out and enjoy it and soak it all in, which is fair. With regards to the betting with talkSPORT Bet, I suppose from an England perspective, Kane was, in terms of winning the Golden Ball for the tournament and being the best player, he was the best and the favourite amongst the England players. Now he's joint with Bellingham. They're both at 8-1 to be the tournament player, which if England win the tournament, it obviously will be, and you will look at one of those two. You had a text in earlier, which I looked over the shoulder and saw that he's been compared to Gaza now. You need those kind of egos. You need that kind of character in the England setup, don't you?
Yeah. What do you think of that, actually, Simon? I did have a text, and I'm glad, Ryan, I could feel you behind me looking over my shoulder. I said nothing, though. But yeah, it's a mate of mine, Ian, who got in touch with me this morning. Incidentally, is Bellingham now better than Gaza? Is he?
He's a different sort of player, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, Gaza was... I mean, Bellingham is a power player that's got good feet and very athletic. Whereas Gascoigne was just mercurial. He just took players out of the game and sold them a dummy, and they were still buying it a week later. Yeah. He was that sort of player. I think you might be able to compare the effect of a talismanic outcome in terms of Gascoigne scoring that wonderful goal against Scotland that gave everybody a different feel-good factor, and then Bellingham being on the receiving end of opportunities and taking them when England needed them in games, whether it was against Slovakia in the Euros, whether it was against Panama in this competition, or whether it's last night. Yeah. But I think to draw parallels, you can draw parallels between what they might mean as a focal point for the audience, us the fans, to see these sort of elite footballers. But I think Gascoigne was, before the injury against Tottenham, was almost unplayable.
Well, he was saying to me, both 23 at their respective breakthrough World Cups is due to better player for not playing in the Premier League. I mean, there's various aspects to it. Where are you at with all of this, Ryan? Do you see this as a lift-off moment last night, or have you get your feet planked in the ground?
They're planted on the ground, I'm one of those kind of guys, though. I try not to get too carried away. I actually think the Norway game could be more difficult than the Mexico game in many ways. I know, obviously, that altitude chat, and I was bought into the altitude chat, but I just feel, as Simon said, that Haaland is inevitable, and we might have to get into this place where we outscore them. So I'm worried about that dynamic. But naturally, as an England fan, I will have that worry. I'm happy that we got through that, but the next test now, we've got to look to Saturday. So
England will score against Norway.
They will, but will they outscore Haaland? Kane versus Haaland. We love a narrative, and that's one of them, isn't it? It's going to be amazing.
Is there a bit of fear in the air here?
I don't know. I don't want to admit that on air. But I will... Yeah, it's apprehension. Apprehension, just naturally.
Apprehension, that's a good word, right? Are you apprehensive because of Haaland, Simon?
No, but I find myself, and I don't want to be sounding like some dullard, but I find myself pleased with the result, proud of the performance.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the players. I have a great deal of respect for that performance. I have a great deal of admiration for Thomas Tuchel. But this job is not done.
No.
So I don't like this idea that we get into this. It's a new fad. And I know that people are going to say to me, get over yourself. This idea of but on the other side of it, I also think that life passes by so quickly and moments are fleeting that sometimes you should grab the nettle and celebrate. But this over-exuberance of we've now arrived, there's a lift-off point and everything has to be categorised and the fans are ecstatic.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of want to get in a balance, but at the same token, I also understand, well, what the hell? Life is so bloody miserable at times. Why shouldn't people be able to just let loose and just enjoy it and go silly about it? And maybe...
It would have been a lot more miserable had you gone out to Mexico last night in the Azteca. For many people here, it would have been a lot more. And you're right.
Yeah. I mean, look at the hospitality industry. I mean, they're raving about the opportunities. They're talking about hundreds of millions. I mean, the irony of it is that the government tried to destroy the hospitality industry and now letting them do as they wish by opening up and bringing more money into the exchequer. But it's great for the natural effect of football has so many other opportunities for other people.
The spin-offs. We're going to talk in more detail about what went on with one particular player for the USA. But USA, Belgium, right?
Yeah, I know. You're going to talk about this a little bit more in the show. So I won't step on your toes with that one. I will tell you that Balogun is available on site, of course, because that red card has been suspended, quote unquote. So he's 29-20 now. As I say, I'll let you guys discuss that. talkSPORT Bet weren't brave enough to boost that one, let me tell you. But he is on site and he's 29-20 to score any time against the Belgians, which would be, what a talking point that would be.
It would be very interesting indeed. 1 a.m. tonight, live on talkSPORT. Ryan, thank you, not for the first time, for joining us today. That was a look at the latest odds, all thanks to talkSPORT Bet. 18+, gamble aware, DeTarg.
The Playbook with talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or visit talksportbet.com to see all our latest sign-up offers. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Wayne Rooney has just said that Thomas Tuchel should have brought Kyle Walker to this World Cup. That experience and the ability to play it right back rather than have to take Declan Rice out of midfield could have been useful.
I think a Kyle Walker and his pomp would drastically improve this team. I really do.
100%.
Stuart Pearce there and Adrian talking about Wayne Rooney's comments. Carl Walker's in the studio with us. Perfectly timed. What do you make of Wayne Rooney's comments there?
No, I think for Wayne to say that, it's flattering. I think a legend like that to say that about you, it obviously gives you a little bit of a pat on the back. But I still go back to the Trent scenario that, Trent is still out there and available, and I think maybe he should have got the nod.
The comments itself, you've retired from international football. I didn't know this, but you told us in the gallery back in April.
I think it was around about April, March.
You regret that a little bit?
No, I think I do regret it looking in hindsight now that there's potential place for me in this World Cup.
Did you feel that place had gone now? That just wasn't going to happen again, that your England career had come to an end? Is that?
I look at it now and I think that obviously with Reece and Tino's recent injuries, maybe I could have got the shout. But when I had the conversation...
talkSPORT.
With your headlines at 2:01, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. talkSPORT's Henry Winter called it the best England performance in the 35 years he's been covering them, but we're told there's more to come.
I know we can play better. I'm the first one to want us to play better, more clinical in the passing, more rhythm, whatever. But as a fan, there's so much to love because they just leave everything out there, and I think that is the beauty of it.
Despite England's tireless 10-man 3-2 win over Mexico in the Azteca, Jude Bellingham says they've got a few more games before they can lay Maradona's ghost to rest. Next up, it's Erling Haaland's Viking rowers.
Norway, they've got the confidence, they've got the players, the uncertainty, they're going to be the underdogs. I don't know, it worries me a little bit, but we're English, so we're going to get carried away. It's coming home's going to be playing over the next 48 hours, and I'm here for all of it.
Former England winger Andros Townsend would have preferred Brazil in the quarters. Neymar has retired from internationals following their defeat, and Brazilian football expert Tim Vickery isn't sure Carlo Ancelotti's up for the radical overhaul needed there.
It could be what he wants to do. He has been very happy in the job, but he now is going to come under pressure, the like of which I don't think even he has ever seen at Real Madrid or AC Milan.
Now, UEFA are calling following Balogun's overturned suspension unprecedented, incomprehensible and unjustifiable. That follows interference from the White House. Belgium will appeal the decision, allowing the USA striker to play in their quarter-final despite his previous red card. Roberto De Zerbi says he's been keeping tabs on Sandro Tonali since his days in the academy at Brescia. Tonali's completed his move from Newcastle for a Spurs club record $100 million. And Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis says his fifth manager in 12 months, Oliver Glasner, shares his ambition to win major honours. More on all this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The Royals cancel Harry's Buckingham Palace stay, and 2 teens are cleared of killing a 15-year-old with a sword. There's more with Toby in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. This summer, treat yourself to Bridgestone Turanza All-Season 6 tyres with a 25,000 mileage guarantee. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Rain across northern and northwestern Scotland. Dry for most of us though. Sunny spells, breezy, very warm in the south.
Ready.
Good afternoon, everybody. 4 minutes past 2 on a Monday afternoon. We're still in our USA slot, of course. Eventually, sometime further down the line, I suppose we'll go back to 10 to 1, but it's 4 minutes past 2 in the afternoon, and we are live on talkSPORT. Jim White and Simon Jordan back from the US of A, but back very much with a close look at everything that is going on in the World Cup and what England are doing, what everybody's doing, really. To be quite honest, you're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. Live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation, First Stop Toolstation. Plenty going on away from the World Cup. We'll get to some of that. Ange Postecoglou, Simon, pitches up in Saudi Arabia. He'll be managing Cristiano Ronaldo next season. And in the meantime, Tottenham Hotspur got their man in Sandro Tonali. £100 million. Can you believe it? Can you believe this? Now, we know what happened. USA striker Folarin Balogun was sent off in the game against Bosnia. A straight red, and off he went. A sanction, which is automatically accompanied by a one-game suspension under FIFA's rules for the tournament. Now, the USA carry on. They're up against Belgium in the early hours of the morning. But Balogun has had his one-match suspension overturned, thanks in part to an intervention to FIFA by the US government. A US government official confirmed that President Trump placed a call to FIFA President Gianni Infantino before the governing body decided to suspend the striker's ban for 1 year. It's understood Trump called Infantino because he wanted to better understand why Balogun was sent off and the reason for his suspension. The administration then provided additional evidence via a team of lawyers from outside government to challenge the red card. They specifically challenged the use of slow motion instant replay in awarding the red card. Anyway, suffice to say, it worked, and his one-match suspension was overturned. Trump said on Truth Social, "Thank you to FIFA for doing what was right and reversing a great injustice. Simon, I'll get your take on it in a second. This was USA boss Mauricio Pochettino on what has transpired.
I wasn't involved, and I found out today before to go for training. It's very good for football. It's to celebrate, because if some in the next game or the game that they are playing now and some unfair thing happen, you have the possibility to go and to reverse the decision. Decision that came from the VAR, from situations that are slow motion, that never is the reality of what happened on the pitch.
So that was Pochettino. Simon, how can a country's government be allowed to impact sporting decisions?
Well, they shouldn't be, should they? I mean, I haven't yet seen any concrete evidence that Trump made the call, but notwithstanding that, let's just say for the purpose of this conversation that there was a call from Trump. When I look at this, I look at Infantino, I look at FIFA's operation, look at them, because I've often accused FIFA of being like the Vatican State, being an entity in their own right. And I think there is an element of the fact that I think Infantino thinks he's the president of a country or a prime minister of a country. And so as a result of it, he's had a conversation with another foreign leader and done a deal. And as a result of it, a ridiculous thing like a red card has been rescinded. Two things. First of all, it's a bad rule. It's a bad rule. But if it was the president of Paraguay that had phoned up FIFA, I'm not sure he'd have got the same circumstances. And that's why it's wrong, because it takes away the integrity of the sport. It takes away the premise of an equal playing field. Because we know that if Keir Starmer had phoned up FIFA, or, well, not that he'd get anywhere, but if anyone other political leader had phoned up and had this conversation, first of all, they probably wouldn't have done it. If they did do it, they wouldn't have got the outcome. So that's what brings it into a situation where it's even more concerning than just political influence. It's about the integrity and authenticity of the game. The rule's a bad rule. The rule should have a situation where a red card can be rescinded, but it's the same rule for everybody, and a bad rule for everybody is a bad rule, but it's the same for everybody else.
Well, that's right. And the rule is in place.
So with that in mind, my take on it is, if you look at some of the things that might come out about the Qatar World Cup and Infantino's relationship with that, if you look at Infantino's positioning and the fact that he gave Donald Trump a peace award, which was absurd, not because I have any issue with Donald Trump trying to solve world problems, but because I think it's improbable circumstance, and the ridiculousness of Infantino going into the Iranian dressing room whilst telling the same players whose houses were being bombed that they got resilience from a man that had given Donald Trump the peace award. I mean, just you can't write some of this stuff. But to go to the point, I do genuinely believe that Infantino thinks he's a president of a country, and so as a result of it, he's taken a call from another president and subsequently done a deal. And that deal is we're going to rescind the red card. And other nations and other countries should be majorly affronted by it.
Well, it did happen because a US government official confirmed that it happened. That Trump himself placed a call to Infantino. And then what happened thereafter has taken place. And Balogun can play as a result of
it's
that.
It's interesting how we'll take this, because it's a negative thing. If we hear government officials say other things, we don't take that at face value. When the government officials were talking about the Iranians having interlocutors inside their organisation that were concerning for them, we didn't take that at face value.
But are you doubting
Well, we take things that we take at face value what suits us. We take at face value what leads towards our own bias. If you dislike Trump, you'll take this at face value. If you dislike Trump, you won't take at face value that there was good reason why the Iranians were treated the way they were. So we've got to be a bit balanced in the way we do things. But go to the point in hand. It's an appalling set of circumstances. You shouldn't have political influence in a football.
But does this show that Infantino cozying up to Trump was always a bad idea? If Infantino can't protect sporting integrity, I mean, should he be allowed to continue in his position?
Well, this talks to you about this organisation and what it's become and what it represents and the dangers that are behind it. Because if you don't trust the authenticity of the sport, then the integrity of it starts to become unwound. And that becomes, because there is a leap of faith about what people think football represents, and they believe in it. They believe that there's integrity, and they believe that what they're watching is true and honest and fair reflection of it. They believe, they might, people are cynical and they might have a view that VAR isn't good enough, and they might want to turn around and say the referees all protect one another's backs, and those sort of conspiracy theories that people like to float out there.
But you never really had an issue, or did you, with Trump being, with Infantino being so close to Trump?
No, I didn't. It wasn't a case of having an issue. I realised, as you should do, when you realise that the world doesn't just turn on binary media terms. There are things that hold together things. There are trade-offs. There are deals that are done. You're dealing with political animals, and you're dealing with a very powerful leader. And in the same way that Infantino cozied up to the Qatari influence and the Qatari hierarchy, it's part and parcel of, I suspect, of going into a host country with powerful leaders and accepting the landscape. Now, I didn't like the idea of the ridiculousness of giving him a peace prize. What's that got to do with football? What's that got to do with anything? When did it become that? And that's why I make this point. We saw it in things like where they're asking for motorcades and they're asking for special concessions, and we saw it in Qatar where they close off roads.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
You're football administrators. How have you become so omnipresent and powerful? And that's why I make this sort of, it's not a crass analogy, it's an analogy because I genuinely think that Infantino now believes that he presides over a massive entity that has massive influence and is almost state-like. So when he gets a call from a president of a country, he will view it as a statesman-like opportunity to be able to have a trade-off of some shape or form.
Yeah.
What that trade-off is in return was, I don't know, maybe continuing allowing Trump to make sure that the World Cup operates the way it is operating now.
Well, the Belgians are seething, as you might imagine. Rudy Garcia, the coach, I didn't know that July the 5th was equal to April the 1st at FIFA. And he is livid about it. Gary Neville said on ITV the US should drop Balogun so that they're not involved in what is a mess.
Yeah, that's what they'll do.
And in actual fact, this was our own Mark McGee's view on the Balogun situation.
For me, there's a simple solution. Whether it's practical, is that Mauricio Pochettino announces that he's not going to play him because he agrees with everyone. This decision's been made in a place, in a room that doesn't understand the game and doesn't understand, how other people feel and how, the sort of connections, between football people and the love of the game and the love about the integrity of the game. It's like cheating at golf. The rules are there, for a certain reason. It's wrong. And I think that Mauricio Pochettino could step up and imagine the goodwill that both America as an association and him himself as a manager would gain from that. I think it would only be positive.
You see, if that was to happen, and I like Mark a lot, but you can almost imagine Trump on the blower directly to Pochettino. Where is Balogun? Why is he not in your starting 11? I mean, there is no chance that Pochettino's going to take the moral high ground here, is there?
A load of idealistic tripe.
Interestingly, we've put in a request for a reaction from Andrew Giuliani, the executive director of the White House Task Force, gentleman who joined us on Friday on Zoom over in the US, and we haven't heard back from him. It seems what has happened, and now they're going to close ranks, and that's it. And Balogun will play. And as you rightly say, Simon, had it been a call from the president of Paraguay, it would have been almost roundly ignored, wouldn't it?
But the issue's not.
But it wasn't.
But the issue's not with the Americans. The issue is with FIFA. We don't need a phone call from Andrew Giuliani. We need someone from FIFA explaining exactly why it is that you had the audacity to approach a rule, your own rule, and adopt it to the circumstances and make it clear to us. Make it clear, because the Belgians, like UEFA weighing in, right? This rancor between UEFA and FIFA has been going on since God was a little boy. This is what they do.
But are UEFA wrong to
no,
weigh in?
but they're not wrong, but they're not doing it for the reasons that people might think they're doing it for. In the same way they didn't appoint the Somalian referee out of their own free will and good grace. The free will, of course they did, but they did it for other reasons to highlight how wonderful they are. But the point is that it's a bad rule for a start, but the application of it should be uniform and ultimately applying to everybody. And in this instance, it's not. And we know the answer. We're not going to get tested. We know if another player had a dubious red card and a member of state phoned up, and it probably wouldn't happen in any other country, they wouldn't get anywhere. And so the answer is not with the Americans, because the Americans answered the question. The answer could have been no.
Oh, the answer should have been no.
But then the only people who need to answer that is
Who
FIFA.
says no to Trump?
FIFA.
And certainly not Infantino.
Well, FIFA. What's the consequence of them saying no then? What do we think will happen then, just out of curiosity?
Well, who knows?
Well, so he shuts the World Cup down, does he?
That would be very interesting if Infantino had said, I hear what you're saying, President Trump, but no, we won't be doing that.
But that's what he should be saying.
Well, why did Infantino not the bottle to do that?
But that's the question we need to ask FIFA, not the Americans. You can't ask me. I don't know, because if I was in their position, perhaps I would have said no. But the fact is,
Number one, it's outrageous that Trump decided to make a call directly and intervene. Number two, it's as equally outrageous that Infantino has buckled to it.
Well, I don't think it's outrageous that Trump's tried to chance his arm. I think it's outrageous that FIFA have acquiesced to it.
It's not outrageous that Trump got involved.
No. Well, listen, I don't think it's great.
We want Balogun to be available.
It's not about Trump getting involved, it's about FIFA's response to it. I mean, Trump can get involved.
Has it or has it not anything to do with Trump?
If indeed it was Trump, rather than one of his officers.
Somebody impersonating Trump.
or someone in his office.
That would be a laugh, wouldn't it?
Well, as we say, I mean, as I say, you know, unless we are there on a call, we don't know. We sit here being very happy to assume the worst when it suits us in a conversation about the American administration. In this instance, we don't take it at face value.
A US government official confirmed Trump placed the call.
And a US government official confirmed there was legitimate reasons for the Iranian team being treated in a certain way, but none of us accepted it. You didn't accept it. You thought it was outrageous. So there's a debate to be had about which information we want to accept at face value. When it suits your argument, you don't like somebody.
We can
accept it at face
interrogate
value.
the answer.
We can interrogate the answer. We don't get.
You always say that,
but we're not interrogating the answer. We're making a preordained conclusion.
So we have to take it at face value.
No, we talk to somebody that can give us an answer, which is FIFA. Not the Americans. You want to condemn the Americans? Fine. I don't feel the necessity to do that in this instance. I feel the necessity to condemn FIFA. FIFA are the ones that have the agreement.
Well, we can do both, can't we?
Well, I think people...
Because there are two parties wrongly involved.
I think people push the envelope in life. In every walk of life, everybody pushes the envelope. Everybody tries to get something more of an equation, whether you like it or you don't like it. Footballers do it, managers do it, people in life do it, people in business do it. Whether we want to wax lyrical about the morality of it, then we should perhaps all go back to kindergarten.
So how does Infantino politic his way out of this one?
Oh, he politics his way out of everything, doesn't he? In the same way he politics his way out of... Because it's chip paper. Because people forget about it. It moves on. You know, we're not solving people's lives here. We're talking about something that people forget about.
I agree with you, but if Balogun scores a winner against Belgium, it's not going to get forgotten about, is it?
Well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it?
That will be the game.
I mean,
that a player scored the winner, the same player who shouldn't have been on the field.
Yeah, in the same way that everyone forecasted, wouldn't it be an awful revelation if Iran played America in the World Cup and it didn't happen? Probably what happens is the Americans will get knocked out. If there's any justice in this conversation, the Americans will get knocked out by the Belgians and it'll become a moot point.
Could happen.
And if it doesn't, then it becomes a more controversial one. But the only person that should be accountable for this is not the person pushing the envelope. If someone tries to take a liberty, what they're supposed to be is stopped.
But who's going to hold Infantino accountable? That's the thing. Who's going to hold them accountable?
But that is the problem with FIFA, and that is the problem with the opaqueness of it, and that's the problem with the transparency of it, and that's the problem, and that's why in part UEFA are a better organisation, because they're a little bit less opaque, there's a little bit more transparency, and there's a little bit more visibility of what they're trying to achieve. Whereas FIFA, like we keep on saying, or I say, is like a Vatican state that just rolls in without any accountability, does what it wants. And you do have organisations that are trying to keep their feet to the fire. You do have organisations that write these big reports. Public read them? Nobody's interested. There's reports for everybody to read. They come in here, I forget what the organisation called, very good organisation.
Fair Square.
Fair Square. And they'll give everybody...
activists, I think.
Well, I didn't.
No,
I didn't. I don't hold with everything they say, and I'm quite capable of suggesting that some of the things that they say might be wrong, but I don't think I have any reason to call them activists, because they were trying to show something that we all agree is something that we don't see, which is the opaqueness of an organisation.
Let's put it out there. Where do we stand on this? Balogun, and we know what happened, because a US government official has confirmed that Trump placed a call to Infantino before the governing body decided to suspend the strikers' ban for 1 year. As a result of that intervention, Balogun now plays. And Trump said, "Thank you, FIFA, for doing what was right and reversing a great injustice." What if Balogun scores a winner against Belgium? How on earth has this situation been allowed to happen? And why did Infantino say yes to Trump, it seems, when the request came through? What do you think of it all? Crazy or what? 03717 223344. Shoot us a text if you want on 81089. Women managing in the men's game in general, do you think attitudes are shifting now?
Well, I don't have any fundamental problem with anything as long as it's meritocratic and it's seeded in meritocracy. And so the idea that we have to have a woman in the men's game, we have to have a gay footballer coming out, we have to have these things, aren't necessarily part of my thinking. I look at it and go, I look past the person, I look past the sexuality, I look past the gender, and I look at the capabilities. And so I've watched her in the women's game. She's very, very capable. Now, whether that translates into a space where the scale of the game... Now, people will say the basic principles are exactly the same, and ultimately football is football. And then they'll make the argument in the next breath that you can't compare the women's game to the men's game because the women don't like it and the men's don't like it, and they're two different games. So which argument do you want to run? When you've got scale, physicality, expectation, pressure, and all of the stuff that we know at the elite end of the game, I think it doesn't translate as clearly and concisely to make that decision. Also, I'm perplexed by why there is this desire. When Serena Wegman was doing so well, all of a sudden the lobbies come up, we should have her as England manager in the men's side. Why don't you keep her in the women's game? I thought you wanted to advance your bleeding game. I thought you wanted your game to be as best it could possibly be. Why are you seeking to take your major assets out and put them into the men's game? And what I don't like, insofar as I have any investment in this, is this constant battling between the men's game and the women's game about what the men's game's responsibility is for the women's game, because once upon a time, you know, the women weren't able to compete in the 70s and 80s. Well, you can have the 70s and 80s back, because that was when the game was bankrupt, it was full of hooliganism, and no one wanted to be involved with it. I'm not against it, as long as it's seeded in merit, and I think Emma herself spoke once upon a time about she wasn't going to manage a certain club at a certain level. I do not, with respect, see a female manager of a side like Manchester United or an elite side anytime soon, and that's not because I'm resistant to it.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
The World Cup in the USA, absolutely in full swing now, the knockout stages. And in those knockout stages, the USA, one of the three host nations, will take on Belgium in the early hours of tomorrow morning, live on talkSPORT. But Folarin Balogun, USA striker, has had his one-match suspension overturned, thanks in part to an intervention to FIFA by the US government. A US government official confirmed that Trump placed a call to Infantino before the governing body decided to suspend the striker's ban for 1 year. So many of you getting involved in this. Gav in Wiltshire, Trump can't win fair. He says, this is Gav, he's cheated his way through life. So a call to who is a spineless FIFA president doesn't really surprise me at all. Before this tournament began, of course, we should remember that Cristiano Ronaldo avoided a suspension for the start of the World Cup after FIFA handed the Portugal captain a 3-match ban. But with the final 2 games suspended for a 1-year probation period. So, Simon, to a large degree here, did FIFA set a stupid precedent with Ronaldo?
Yeah, to some extent they may well have done, but it that still doesn't mean that the circumstances that have evolved in this situation. I mean, I'm assuming that the Americans must have launched an appeal, because I'm assuming there must have been a process that's being followed initially to some extent, or said something. Because are we suggesting that there was no US soccer involvement, just a presidential call saying, I think that this...
There was both. Yeah, there was both.
Yeah. So they must have been. So they're surprised that everyone. I don't quite understand why everyone's so surprised then, because if they launched an appeal, they must have expected some outcome. We never knew anything about this. It's all come out of the blue. Well, if you launched an appeal, you must have known there's going to be some outcome one way or t'other. You might be surprised that you got the ban rescinded. Yeah. Look, I mean, that argument was being raised at the time. I mean, what was the argument about Ronaldo being raised, that somehow there was influence? Wasn't that Trump as well? That Trump wanted Ronaldo at the World Cup, and so that FIFA had made a decision that was a deal that needed to be done.
On the Balogun thing, it's understood that Trump called Infantino because he wanted to better understand why Balogun was sent off and the reason for his suspension.
Yeah. I mean, that's not, but then that can't be the language that was being used here, because we're saying he didn't want to better understand. He wanted to change it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He could have been quite easily told, better understood why they made the decision.
I mean, everybody's getting involved in it. There's one, Sir Rod Stewart. Hi, Sir Rod. If the US get to the final, Trump's coming on for the last 10 minutes. We'll watch for that, Sir Rod. Here's the thing, though, Simon. Sepp Blatter, the former FIFA president, he gets involved. Red cards are not overturned by political phone calls. They're overturned by rules, evidence, and independent bodies. I have to say, when Blatter takes a high ground, we got a problem here in the equation.
I mean, yes, no, well, red cards aren't overturned. World Cups are awarded on the back of political phone calls. We know how that works, Sepp. But he's right.
Yeah,
he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely right. If this is exactly what's happened, then it's a plague on FIFA's house. But it's because what they've been allowed to become, and it's what Infantino has allowed to be elevated to. I make the point, and I don't make it with just some rhetoric. I genuinely think that they believe that they are almost a nation state, FIFA, and that they operate with that methodology in mind. So when another leader of a perceived power phones them up and wants to do a deal on something, they do a deal. And it's as reductive as doing a deal, in this instance, over a football player's red card. And that's how ridiculous the scale of FIFA has become. And it unwinds the integrity of the game. It unwinds the authenticity of it because it isn't fair.
Arsenal fan Bill wants you saying it. Bill, this almost beggars belief, does it not?
The irony in it to me is that the thing in the Constitution that of a citizen's birthright, if you're born in America, then you're in America. Then they try to overturn. Trump is trying to overturn that rule. But if he does, then Balogun isn't qualified anymore because it stops being an American citizen. Where's the irony there?
Right. So there's hypocrisy involved in this whole thing, then, is there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When this is the double bend.
Yeah. Listen, thank you for the call, Bill. To be quite honest, Simon, I see a number of messages coming in. Is this borderline corruption? What is going on here? Is that too strong? Is this a corrupt set of circumstances?
Well, corruption is probably the wrong word, because the rule's a bad rule, and the decision was a bad decision. But the fact that influence can come into play to create a better outcome than perhaps others could have is not really corruption. I don't think it's corruption. I think it's an inherent unfairness. And FIFA have to be accountable for that. Not the US. FIFA have to be accountable for it, because they're the ones that made the decision. Donald Trump cannot unilaterally determine that a red card gets reversed. That's not his gig. He can't do it.
No, it's FIFA's decision. You're right.
So FIFA are the ones that need to be absolutely accountable.
I get that.
And that's a decision-making process. And they will believe that they have the absolute right to do it. And maybe they'll cite the example of the Cristiano Ronaldo scenario as in part a scenario, but it's not, because Ronaldo coming into a World Cup, into a qualifying stage of a tournament, is a very different dynamic than a knockout game, which has an instantaneous gratification. And that in itself makes it a different set of parameters. It's like the rules that reverberated around the domestic season and the rules reverberated on the playoffs. When we had this discussion about Southampton and how they had to have a different dynamic for the consequence of their punishment, because the rules during the season would not fit for a knockout tournament.
To simplify it, Trump should never have got involved, and he has. Infantino should not have buckled.
Correct.
And he has.
Correct.
So that's the bottom line. The fellow who is right behind the word go on this story is our own Ben Jacobs. The other side of this upcoming break at 2:30, we'll head back over to the US and find out what the very latest on this Balogun gate, if you like, is a tongue twister. And we'll hear from Ben. Stay with us. It's 2:30.
Tuchel won the Champions League with Chelsea on the back of not playing particularly attractive football, finding their way through games. So I don't think he really cares how England play as long as they win. And that's his mindset. And he will take the positive out of it. We won. We kept on going towards the end. Well, so you should. And with due respect to the Congolese, their game fell away as the game went on and they became stretched and tired. And for whatever reason, England were able to get themselves back in the game because of the excellence of Harry Kane. Poor goalkeeper on the first goal, which got us back in the game. Brilliant second goal. But you look at it, you go, Declan Rice is like a machine hitting dead balls in there. Look at the first 3 or 4 corners that he hit in. Bang, first man, bang, first man, bang, first man. All of a sudden he starts changing his corners to balloons across the box because he seems to have his confidence gone. You look at Rice and you look at Saka when they come on, they look knackered. They look like players that have been in a long season and haven't got it. And ironically for England, Declan looked better at right back than what we've got, and that might be a conundrum for Thomas Tuchel that he changes that. But I look across the field, Rashford, no end products. Madueke, no end products. You know, you look defensively, the goalkeeper doesn't worry me so much because goalkeepers make mistakes. That's what happens in games every now and again. And sometimes Pickford makes wonderful saves. But I look at it and say, that is not a team, in my mind, that has any chance of winning this World Cup when it comes up against serious opposition.
What makes this remarkable is how differently you two see it.
Well, I think if you're English, you're going to see it with emotion as well. And I don't have any emotion in this. Like the only person on the whole team that I played with and know is Harry Kane. I want him to do well, and he is doing well, and he's scoring loads of goals. But I don't want him to do well so much.
But Simon's assessment, it's not just emotional, Brad.
No, it's
kind of on the money, isn't it?
Well, his assessment is his assessment. It's his opinion, and he's right about a lot of the things.
Do you not think there feels an awful lot more wrong than right about this England side?
So Jeff Hurst is a name that's synonymous with the World Cup, especially in England. That hat-trick at Wembley in 1966, the stuff of legend. But did you know the tables turned 4 years later when a dodgy goal decision cost him and England another shot at glory? After 66, Jeff Hurst is a household name. England's main striker, a goal every other game for his country, and even a spot singing on Top of the Pops. It looked a bit different, didn't it? But the 1970 World Cup wouldn't be a cakewalk. Hurst only scores 1 in 3 in the groups, and England finish second, meaning they get a tougher draw for the knockouts. And who's waiting for them in the quarterfinals? West Germany. It's a physical game, and as you can see, Hurst wasn't given much time on the ball. England go 2 up, but the Germans come back, and we're going to extra time. Gerd Müller scores, and seemingly puts Germany in the last 4. Just moments from time, though, Jeff Hurst has the ball in the back of the net. But the referees decided that when Francis Lee cuts in from the right, despite his cross clearly deflecting off a German boot, Hurst is offside, so he disallows it. After that decision went in England's favour 4 years earlier, suddenly they're on the receiving end of a controversial call. England had been one of the favourites, and Hurst never played at the World Cup again. If only we'd had VAR. Ugh, can't believe I just said that.
It is indeed. This time we're back here in the news building at London Bridge. Jim White, Simon Jordan, live on talkSPORT in partnership with Tool Station. First stop, Tool Station. 1 a.m. Tuesday morning UK time. talkSPORT brings you live commentary of USA versus Belgium. Now, of course, as we were discussing, Simon and myself there, one player in particular makes an extremely newsworthy line going into this. He plays when it looks as if he wouldn't play. Folarin Balogun, the USA striker, has had his one-match suspension overturned thanks in part to an intervention to FIFA by the US government. The man who broke the story joins us now live, talkSPORT reporter over in the USA camp. He's live from Seattle. He's Ben Jacobs. Ben, good afternoon to you. Where are we at with this? Do you have an update on it? Is Balogun set to appear in the USA shirt for this one?
Well, good morning here from Seattle, USA facing Belgium. 2 updates for you. The first from UEFA, who have called this decision incomprehensible, and they've added that the decision crossed a red line. And then the Royal Belgium Football Association, in the last half an hour, have confirmed to talkSPORT that FIFA have intentionally made the appeal process, quote, inadmissible. Why? Because to formally appeal the specific decision that Balogun can have a suspended ban, the Belgium FA need written reasons for that decision, and they do not have them. So as a consequence, the Royal Belgium Football Association have confirmed in the last few moments that they will take a different route and they will directly challenge the players' eligibility. Now, in theory, this can be done via FIFA in an expedited case, but in practice, kickoff is only obviously a few hours away because the match takes place this afternoon at 5 o'clock local time. So there's also a possibility that concurrent to this, the Royal Belgium Football Association go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Again, without the written reasons for the original decision, it will be very difficult to get clarity, at least that satisfies the Royal Belgium Football Association before this game kicks off. But sources have told me this morning, Jim, that the Royal Belgium Football Association are not ruling out, should they get knocked out of the World Cup, challenging this retrospectively with CAS. And if they succeed, it would be via an expedited case. And there is a possibility that this rumbles on into the post-match. And if the Belgium FA were to get knocked out and succeed via CAS, there is also a possibility that due to Balogun potentially playing in the game as an ineligible player, that the US would then be kicked out of the World Cup. So that is one doomsday scenario as regards the US's position is concerned. And let's now see, in the context of all of this and the various legal challenges, whether Maurizio Pochettino uses Flo Balogun in the game.
Wow. Ben, stay with us for the moment. Simon, it's almost getting down to a situation whereby Infantino's got to hope that the USA don't beat Belgium.
Well, surely that even if they did, Belgium should still bring the case. Because the case either has merit or it doesn't have merit. It doesn't have merit just because it adversely affects you. It has merit because it's wrong in its fundamentals. They won't, because that's the inconsistency of football. 1 minute a manager will absolutely castigate VAR, but if it goes his way, he'll not say anything about it. So there should be an action brought against this, because if this player plays and the Belgians feel the way that they do, then they should take the action irrespective of the outcomes. Now, that might be a fanciful sort of an outlook for myself, but when we start talking about getting into the Court of Arbitration of Sport, then we have to start defining whether the player had a material advantage. Of course, the argument is about the ineligibility, but what is the remedy? What, play the game again when the World Cup is finished?
I mean, it's all now gets so messy that obviously Trump should never have made the call, and Infantino should never have buckled to that call.
But again, we can say what Trump shouldn't have done, but FIFA shouldn't have acquiesced to it.
No, I agree with you.
And so whatever the relationship between Infantino and Trump is, it is compromising the outcome of a sporting integrity of a circumstance. Now, I again go back to the point I'm making, which is not an explanation or a justification. There's a bad rule and it's a bad process. And they should not have this process. There should have been an ability to be able to appeal these red cards and a remedy that didn't just involve people saying, well, we got it wrong, but there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't excuse the premise of FIFA operating in a way as if they are a land unto themselves without an accountability for the overall integrity of the game and a standard that would be applied to everybody, which is not being applied to everybody else. Because again, if it were the Belgians that had the players sent off and they made a phone call to FIFA, I suspect they'd be sent away with a flea in their ear.
Yeah, you would think. And Ben, we can confirm that a US government official confirmed Trump placed the call to Infantino himself, yeah?
Yeah, a White House spokesperson told me that they could confirm the exclusive story that we broke on talkSPORT, which is Donald Trump directly, in the 24 hours that followed the Balogun red card, called the FIFA president Gianni Infantino and asked him to review the situation. Now, in addition, there were other White House personnel involved, including Marco Rubio and Andrew Giuliani, who we spoke to exclusively on talkSPORT. He heads up the task force for the 2026 World Cup. And after Trump made the call to Infantino, several people in the White House and close aides to Donald Trump started helping US soccer find loopholes, because in theory there's no direct appeal process because it's an automatic one-game ban, and that is ultimately the argument of Belgium. So the White House were not just involved in saying, is there anything you can do? They were actually helping US soccer make the legal arguments, and this is why, from Belgium's point of view, they don't believe the final decision is independent. But of course, FIFA point to the fact that regardless of who said what, this decision was made ultimately by an independent panel rather than Gianni Infantino.
But Ben, do you see any other federations out there coming in behind Belgium to support Belgium, or are Belgium on their own in this one?
No, I think every single nation other than the US men's national team at this World Cup are on the side of Belgium, and UEFA as well. As we've seen from the statement, the Norway manager, after they beat Brazil, said that the decision was extremely poor. And let's be honest, once we see these written reasons, there may be a very dangerous precedent set. Because my understanding is that the White House and US Soccer argued that too many slow motion replays were used to misrepresent the incident. So what about last night when Jarrell Quansah is sent off? I think it was a red card, but when the official who didn't give an initial red card reviewed it at the monitor, what happened? He was shown slow-mo replays and freeze frames. So England would be fully entitled to try their luck and say, if the precedent is there for Balogun to get a suspended one-match ban, then why not us? And at the heart of this is the point that Simon made. There should be a simple ability for any federation to appeal any red card, because if it's the right decision, due process is done, and if it's the wrong decision, it's overturned. But if it just goes from a one-match suspension that is automatic with no appeal process, you open up a can of worms. And then if FIFA can ultimately, whether disciplinary panel or the FIFA president, say, actually, when we like, or when it suits us, or maybe when an error is made, we're going to overturn it, or we're going to suspend it, in this case for Balogun and Ronaldo before the tournament, of course other federations are going to turn around and say, you've got to be consistent. So why shouldn't England appeal the Quansah red card, even though it probably was the correct decision?
Where's the independent commission feature in this? If there's no process to appeal something, why is there an independent commission adjudicating something in this instance? Did I not hear just Ben say there's an independent commission that subsequently came to this conclusion?
What would you say to that,
FIFA's
Ben?
defence of this is the independent commission have come to this. When did they get involved in it? There's no process.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point in all of this, that the FIFA rules state that regardless of Article 27, it is an automatic one-game ban. And unless it is more than a one-game ban, there is no appeal process. And we were told that on record by FIFA sources at the time. But you have the FIFA disciplinary committee who can create an independent panel. So this is kind of a roundabout, if you want to call it appeal.
So who made representations to them
So
then?
US Soccer.
So US, because I can't really imagine that inside the White House is
to
the intelligence to debate the rules about slow motion replays. So it's being driven by US Soccer. US Soccer have asked FIFA to reconsider their position that there isn't a position to be able to consider this, and an independent panel has been put together, and this coupled with political influence has created an outcome.
Kind of, except that sources in the White House state that it was driven by the US government, not US Soccer originally. So to clarify, US Soccer did not appeal because they thought there was no appeal. The US government then said there might be a roundabout way of challenging protocol rather than appealing, and you've got to go to the FIFA disciplinary committee. The lawyers from the White House compiled that initial evidence, working closely with US Soccer, so this was a collaborative process, but the original idea to find a creative way to get this red card suspended came first from White House lawyers, but then of course under FIFA protocol it had to be lodged by US Soccer.
I think Pochettino at his peril doesn't field Balogun. What do you think? I think he's probably first name in the team sheet, is he not, Ben?
He is. He's had a fantastic tournament, and ultimately Pochettino's likely to go with the same 11 that he put out against Bosnia. If he doesn't start the game, it's an indication, in my opinion, that US Soccer are nervous about the ramifications of playing him, and that in its own way takes a lot of guts from a manager, knowing that he's been the main source of creativity and goals. Along with Malik Tillman, he's been the best player, in my opinion, for the US men's national team at this tournament. So yes, I expect the US men's national team to double down. As of now, Balogun is eligible. If that remains the case come kick-off, my expectation is he'll start the game.
Can I just ask the question, and not being pedantic, other than confidential sources, do we have official confirmation from FIFA or the White House that a call was made from Donald Trump? Do we have official confirmation, or do we have confidential sources?
Well, we sourced it as an exclusive, so I'm very confident in the story, but a White House official is now on record as saying, and I quote, "Yes, the president spoke directly to Gianni Infantino," so it's confirmed from the White House side. We, of course, gave
who's the White House
FIFA a
official
right
that
of
you spoke to
response.
then?
Well, as you know, Simon, and no journalist in this
So it's a
world
confidential
is ever
one,
gonna
so it's not an
reveal a
official
source on
position,
air,
is it?
otherwise we wouldn't have any sources.
Well, so it's not.
Well,
so it's not an
White
official
House
position from the
spokesperson.
White House or from the FIFA. It's a confidential.
Why are you doubting Ben's report? I wouldn't do that.
I'm just saying. Well, I can doubt what I want, Jim.
Well,
I'm
it's
just asking for an
on
official position
record
because we're very
quote
good at not
from
getting
the
official
White
positions.
Yes, but for example, when you were an owner of a club, your club would issue a statement on behalf of the club and you wouldn't put a name to it. That's exactly what the White House have done.
Well, I would actually.
Okay, well, Ben, listen, I take it at face value that a US government official confirmed Trump placed that call to Infantino, and we'll see if Balogun plays. Highly likely that he will. Ben Jacobs in Seattle, thank you for that. From Seattle to Wimbledon, and here's Lisa.
Elise Mertens has booked her place in the quarter-final. Straight sets winner over Marie Bushkova. Good news for fans of Italian tennis. Flavio Cobolli's a set up on Alex de Minaur, although the Australian is close to levelling that one. It's also first blood to Jasmine Paolini on centre court. She's leading Alex Ayala by a set. And it is a break in favour of the Filipina, though, who's serving 2-1. A baseline battle, it's involved him to a lot more variety now. Hopefully, though, that's going to be the only blood reference on centre court. Arthur Ferry is due to follow this in a wild-card showdown with Grigor Dimitrov. The last Brit standing has been suffering nosebleeds. He had 3 in the last match alone.
That doesn't sound good, does it? No nosebleeds here. We're live in talkSPORT with Tool Station. First stop, Tool Station.
That is a performance that will give everyone who's English across the world belief that we can win the World Cup. They fought like lions. They went to the Coliseum and they stood up against the intimidating fan base. 87,000 attendance, probably 82,000 Mexicans. The altitude, no problem.
Yeah.
Heroes, all of them, every single player.
And I agree. You know, watch every minute of it. Of course, within that, you've got goals, penalties, woodwork being hit, red cards, all sorts of other things going on around the pitch.
Incredible, Jeff.
As well. I think at the end, I saw somebody tweet that it was a Tuchel tactical masterclass. Now, I disagree with that.
Okay.
Because I think that certainly second half, this was down to willpower, determination and grit.
Yes.
And every single England player showed that. And I mean, I've got players that I want to single out, but what about you, Gabby? Who would you single out?
I think Jordan Pickford was fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, Troy Deeney saying that we can't win the World Cup with Pickford. I'm sure he'll take those comments back, knowing Troy is a good guy. I thought Anthony Gordon was fantastic, did everything that was needed. And I thought Jude Bellingham was a standout player. 2 goals. He was the clearance off the line in the first half, the end of the first half, the way he was running with the ball. He was like a man possessed. But it's hard to even give anyone a standout performance because they all fought like lions. Like you said, Jeff, maybe not a...
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
We're live in talkSPORT this Monday afternoon. We have a talkSPORT exclusive here. News of Jordan Henderson, Simon. He's still in a Mexican hospital awaiting transfer to Kansas for an operation to a broken radius, which I'm told is a forearm bone. So he came crashing to the ground last night during the celebrations after England's win in the Azteca in Mexico City, trying to go over an advertising hoarding, and it went badly wrong. And now he is undergoing treatment for this forearm bone break, and is now at a later stage going to be flying out of Kansas flying out of Mexico to rejoin the squad in Kansas. If you're watching on YouTube at the moment, you can see the moment, and he landed from a great height on it. But all very unnecessary, is it not, Simon?
Yeah, poor sod. Can't catch a break, Jordan Henderson, can he? Everyone questions his call-up, and we see the validity of it, some of it, because he's constantly in the face of other players, around the other players, constantly cajoling and encouraging, and I guess that's part and parcel of the team spirit. And now he's the walking wounded.
He even got booked in the touchline last night. So, well, if you're English, for everybody, it was a great night and a night to remember in the Azteca. For Jordan Henderson,
one to forget.
Maybe not so great. Maybe not so great. We wish him well. Anyway, in other news, Ange Postecoglou has been appointed head coach of the Saudi Arabian side Al Nassr on a 2-year contract. He's been out of football management since October, Simon, when he was sacked by Forest after just 39 days in charge. The thing about this, you head to Saudi Arabia. Are you there and then taken as seriously as you were beforehand, as an individual in the game, both as a manager and as a player? I remember Ivan Toney opted to take the money on offer, and many would do exactly the same thing, and headed on out there. Others have followed. Others went before him. Where do you stand on that one? How seriously should we take Ange now that he is headed out there, or indeed is that perception shifting?
Well, I suppose you could say you could take him as seriously as people took Nuno Espirito Santo, who went out there and came back. And we all know, we all know that without the major attraction of the financial situation, they're probably not going. But that doesn't make them any. And I liked him. I do like him. I think he's a very interesting and engaging fellow. I think some of the things he said at the time to the media were unwise and created a problem for himself. And I think in the end, his team's performances, despite winning the Europa League, got him the sack. Not Tottenham Hotspur or their ridiculousness. His performances, his decision to prioritise their league performances over the Europa League. So other way round, created an outcome that eventually lost him the job. And I don't know where it places him, because I don't see him particularly as getting another Premier League job. So what's the opportunity for him to go back into Scottish football? We can go. I mean, that's a substandard league. He might as well go to a substandard league and get paid a load of money for doing it.
Well, having managed one of the old firm in Glasgow, I don't think he returns to the Scottish League to any other club other than one of them. Now he's with Al Nassr, and this was him addressing the players in the dressing room.
First thing with me, very simple. Just respect. Respect above everything else.
الاحترام هو أساس لكل شيء.
I don't need a lot of rules or to tell you what to do. Just respect.
ما راح يكون فيها قوانين كثيرة أو كذا بدون هالشغلات، لكن الاحترام هو الأهم.
Respect each other.
نحترم بعض. الشغلة الثانية.
Every day we come in here and we appreciate.
نجي لهون لازم نقدر
the life we have.
الحياة اللي عنا إياها.
Because we're all very lucky. We're all.
لأنه نحن محظوظين شيء. الله مبارك لنا.
What we do.
في العمل اللي نحن شغالين فيه.
So expect every day you come in with a smile on your face.
فدائما بتوقع تجي أنت مع ابتسامة على وجهك.
Just try to be the best you can be every day.
وكل يوم تكون أفضل نسخة من نفسك.
So, you were saying, Simon, that Postecoglou needs to rebuild his reputation. Is that the best place to do it?
Does he lose his I think the bigger thing was, does he lose his reputation insofar as he has one by going to the Saudi Pro League? Do these guys, I never really understand, and maybe it's because I'm becoming dated in my thinking, why there's a necessity to play this sort of stuff out in the media. I know why we want to see it. I don't know why they want to do it, because I think the way you get respect and the way you get a relationship with players is communicate with your players. And you communicate, not this inner sanctum of a dressing room no one else can see him, because I think that's a load of old tosh, but the ability to build a relationship up where you're talking to your players about what you expect from them. You're not doing that so everyone can watch it. Look at me, look what I do. That to me lacks genuity. How do the players buy into that? And how do the players go, I like him, I trust him, I've got a relationship, I want to work with him, when they know that everything he says could be potentially broadcasted?
Yeah, I think Al Nassr jumped on that because it shows more eyes on the Saudi Pro League.
I know why it's done. I'm not questioning why it's done. I'm not questioning the reason why the media want to say it or show it, because it's there to be shown. Yeah. I'm questioning Ange Postecoglou and the reasons why he'd want that to be the situation, and say, look, actually, I'm going to build my relationship with the players. You can have loads of time to see me talking to them once I've got my relationship established. Why do you want to see the first knockings of my relationship?
I think they would urge him to do just that.
I know, but to me, it lacks integrity. If he's Ange Postecoglou being recruited by the Saudi Pro League to be an elite manager, surely he could put some conditions down about, first of all, I'll do all the interviews you want, and I'll play the ham if you want me to do that. But when I'm establishing my relationship with the players, first off, let me do that so the players trust me, build a relationship, because I'm over here to make you win, not over here to make you look good for the purpose of this. And, you know, what I mean, is this the team that Ronaldo's playing for?
Yes.
I mean, what's Ronaldo going to make of that sort of old rubbish?
Well, we shall see. Ange, this is Cristiano. Cristiano, this is Ange. Good luck. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation at 3 o'clock.
Let's go to Chris, the West Ham and England fan. Chris, good morning. What did you make of the game, mate?
Good morning, guys. Oh, absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. I'm in the summer house now. I've been here all night with my guide dog. I listened to the Brazil game against Norway, and then I stayed up and I know it delayed to 2 o'clock in the morning, but I thought, I'm still going to stay up because I stayed up all that time. Absolutely fantastic. I think we'll go all the way, boys and girls. It will go all the way. Because that was a big test today, this morning. Now we can. I think we'll have no fear against Norway, and then it's toss a coin, because I think Argentina will be in the semi-final. It's a toss a coin between England and Argentina to get to the final, and we'll get to the final. We're going to win it. How about that,
Chris? You know, you're in your man cave, right? Could you feel the pride? Could you feel when you was listening to it, the commentary? Could you feel the pride coming through the radio and made you proud to be English?
Oh. Absolutely, my friend. You know, I had the door open and my guide dog was wandering around the garden, and he knew something is happening, really exciting. And every time England scored, I'll jump up and down. He run around the garden. It was and I can't go back to bed now because I take for a walk at 6:30. So I've got to get myself organised. So yeah, I'll be a bit sleepy this morning, but it's worth
Exactly.
it's worth staying up all night. And thank you, talkSPORT, because I appreciate it because I'm Mr. Blind, so I've got to rely on talkSPORT. Thank you for.
talkSPORT.
We do headlines at 3:02. I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. We're told Jordan Henderson's still in hospital in Mexico, awaiting a transfer to Kansas. Henderson broke a bone in his forearm, falling over an advertising hoarding while celebrating England's win in the Azteca. Meanwhile, delirious England fans have told talkSPORT Breakfast that was the performance they've been waiting a very long time for.
All of them last night, even down to the manager, they got it absolutely bang on.
To me, that was probably England's best performance I've ever seen.
Jeff, Gabby, 3 words. 3 words.
Don't do it.
It's coming home!
Well, Thomas Tuchel says there's more to come from his side, who are through the grind of the World Cup's early knockout rounds.
You stay in the tournament, now comes quarter-final, now you see the end of the tunnel, and now from the quarter-final every team can win it. We're in the last 8. That's top, and it's full steam ahead now.
Following England's courageous 10-man 3-2 win over Mexico, it's Norway in the quarter-finals, live on talkSPORT on Saturday night. Meanwhile, Belgium's FA say FIFA are yet to explain their decision to overturn Folarin Balogun's suspension. UEFA say a red line has been crossed after the White House intervened, allowing Balogun to play for the USA against Belgium, despite his sending off. Simon Jordan's called all this concerning.
If it was the president of Paraguay that phoned up FIFA, I'm not sure he'd have got the same circumstances, and that's why it's wrong, because it takes away the integrity of the sport. It takes away the premise of an equal playing field.
Elsewhere, Sandro Tonali is now officially a Spurs player. That's a club record £100 million from Newcastle, and Oliver Glasner looks forward to building a long-term future at Nottingham Forest after being officially unveiled as their 5th manager in the last 12 months. More on all this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Why England's World Cup progress is good for the economy, and 2 teens are cleared of killing a 15-year-old who died after being stabbed with a sword. More from Toby at 3:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Heat wave outside, oven inside. Stay cool this summer with a free aircon check. Book online or visit your local QuickFit today.
Rain across northern and northwestern Scotland. Dry for most of us. Sunny spells, breezy, and very warm in the south.
Ready.
Good afternoon, everybody. Monday afternoon, 5 minutes past 3 o'clock. It's Jim Wine and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT back over this side of the pond as we get into the serious business end of the World Cup. England progressed last night in the Azteca Stadium in Mexico City. A memorable 3-2 win, and England charge on. It's Norway next for them, because somewhat surprisingly, in New York, before England played Mexico, Brazil lost to Norway. Erling Haaland got a couple of goals. Neymar scored from the penalty spot right at the very end. But Brazil head home. What a story that has proved to be. And now all sorts of questions are being asked about Brazil, about Carlo Ancelotti, about everything else that goes with Brazil's representation in the USA at this World Cup. He joined us while we were out there, and he joins us live from New Jersey. Journalist at Sporting News Brazil, he is Samir Melo. Samir, thank you very much indeed for joining us, this time back in London. How are you after what you experienced yesterday after Brazil went out to Norway? How are you feeling?
Hello, Jim. Hello, Simon. I'm grateful to be on again, talking to you. I wish it was under better circumstances, but hey, that's football, right? I guess the feeling is more of disappointment than anything else, right? Because the last time I was on here, I think you could see how optimistic I was about Ancelotti, most of all. And I think he came from one of his best games as a in-game manager from one of his worst. And I was feeling that Brazil was gelling, that each game was a little better than the last one, and then he was closer to an ideal version for this team, for this group of players. And then it was very anticlimactic what happened yesterday, right? I think everything good that was happening for Brazil, suddenly it wasn't there anymore. Like Bruno Guimarães, he was being one of our best players. Then he missed a penalty. Then for the rest of the game, he kind of hides himself from the game. Vinicius Junior, after a great group stage, he had moments yesterday, but he wasn't like his deadliest, right, against Norway. So yeah, I think the magic was gone last night for Brazil. And Ancelotti, all of the right choices that he made, he kind of spent it all on Japan, I think, because all the choices that he made against Norway were wrong, right? I think we're going to talk more about that. But yeah, I think it's disappointment more than anything.
What now for Ancelotti in Brazil? I mean, I think he wants to carry on building, but is he going to get that opportunity?
I think he should. I think he will, and I think he should, because I think it's very much a part of Brazil football culture, right? That when you lose, then everything is wrong, and then the first thing you do, and you call for the manager's head. And I don't think that's right. I think he should have. I think he earned the right for a full cycle, you know, because like I told you last time as well, when you look at Didier Deschamps, 14 years in France, when you look at Luis de la Fuente, it's since 2022 with Spain. Solbakken, that eliminated us yesterday, he's with Norway since 2020. Ancelotti barely has a year on the command of the Brazil national team. So, yeah, I think he should be allowed to have a full cycle. I think he's got great young players coming up. Estevan, who unfortunately was injured for this World Cup. Endrick, as we saw. Ryan, as we saw. So, yeah, we got good young players, and I think he should be allowed to develop them under the Brazil national team.
Samir Simon is with me. I mean, do you think, Simon, that this represents a serious blot on Ancelotti's copybook, on his CV, if you like? I mean, what a CV, yes, but, and now there's a serious but, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Thomas Tuchel would be immune. I mean, Thomas Tuchel came in maybe 4 or 5 months earlier than Ancelotti. His brief was to go and try and win England a World Cup, or to be much more successful than his predecessor. And if Thomas Tuchel went out on the weekend against Mexico, I would be curious to see if the English FA would have kept him in situ. They may well have done, because they've given him a new contract. If it was a Brazilian manager, would he be immune? I mean, this patronage of foreign managers has a sting in its tail in terms of the resistance to it initially. But is there a different standard? If this was a Brazilian manager, had been managing the team for a year, goes to a World Cup, has what most people in Brazil, despite the fact that there might be some realism about where the side is at this moment in time, it's not as good as previous sides, they still wouldn't have accepted going out against Norway. Would he, if it was a Brazilian coach, would he survive it, in your mind?
That's a good question. My gut instinct is to say no. I think the patience would be a lot more short, right, with the Brazilian manager than with Ancelotti. But yeah,
because of Ancelotti's reputation previously, that he gets a pass. Yeah.
Exactly, like Jim said, what a CV, right? So I think he earned the right to have a little more, or a lot more patience, if you will. So yeah, I think it's a horrible day. It's definitely a stain. But yeah, it's not a total disaster, because like I said, we got young talent coming up through the ranks. I think, Ryan and Endrick are teenagers, right? So they're going to have a little more experience developing in the Premier League in the case of Ryan. Endrick is back with Real Madrid. So we got interesting things coming up. But yeah, I think Ancelotti has a lot more leeway than a Brazilian manager would have. And we saw that in that cycle, right? With Ramon Menezes, with Fernando Diniz, with Dorival Jr., Brazilian managers that didn't have much time, but in the time that they had, they didn't really show much. So yeah, I think that's the way it goes.
Samir, we notice now that Neymar's announced his international retirement. Should Neymar have been there in the first place?
Yeah, that's quite a subject, right? I think we could spend like an hour only on Neymar. So yeah, Neymar is a Brazil great. He had a wonderful career. I think he should have done more with his talent than he did, because of injuries, because of personal choices. And I mean, whatever you feel about Neymar. But no, to be direct, not to be too political here, I think he shouldn't be there, because he was there injured, right? When he was called up, he was injured. He made his recovery during the World Cup, which I think it's absurd. So I think Ancelotti, to a fault, he listened to a lot of the players. He listened to a lot of the noise surrounding this this call for Neymar to be there. And when push came to shove, Neymar didn't correspond. He had to change the whole structure of the team to support Neymar. And that's when things went wrong for Brazil, right? That's when the goals for Norway started happening, because you put Henrique on one side and Vinicius on the other, away from the goal. They had to defend. You had to give them defensive responsibilities for Neymar, who wasn't pressuring. So, no, I think we saw yesterday with the resounding no, he shouldn't be there.
So, as you all head back, I mean, back in Brazil, I've been to Rio, I've been to Sao Paulo, I cannot imagine what the atmosphere, what the mood is like there. Can you try to go some way to tell us, Samir, how they're taking the exit of Brazil?
I'm here in the US, so I don't know the exact feel, but what I've been talking to friends and colleagues and people that are discussing, like the aftermath of this defeat, people are angry, people are sad, people are resented. Ancelotti, some people are calling for his head, some people are defending Neymar, some people are attacking the other players, some people are criticizing Vinicius Junior for not taking the penalty and leaving to Bruno Guimarães. So it's utter chaos, as usually is when Brazil is eliminated from a World Cup, so you can imagine. So yeah, people are not happy, to say the least.
Samir, we enjoyed your contribution while we were over there, and we have done again today. Unfortunately, in the circumstances, not the best for you Brazilians. Samir Melo, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, guys, and good luck with England for the rest of the tournament.
Samir, thank you. Samir, top journalist at Sporting News Brazil. It's time for this.
talkSPORT's big match build-up with Village Hotels. Watch the big games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
Time to look at tonight's games. Village Hotel. Simon, one of the big ones will go tonight. Portugal against Spain. We spoke about Neymar, and it's goodbye from Neymar. If Portugal go out, it'll be goodbye from Ronaldo. He's saying this will be my last World Cup, but let's hope it isn't my last game. He hopes it isn't. Do you think it might be?
I think Spain are a better team. I mean, I thought the Portuguese were great against Uzbekistan, but you have to factor in the opposition. I mean, they're coming up against one of the best teams in the competition. And if Spain are anywhere vaguely resembling themselves, then I think they'll beat the Portuguese because they're a better side. But it's a hell of a game. And you wouldn't put anything past Ronaldo. I mean, he has scored his goals in this tournament by the nature of playing against opposition that we would suggest isn't the high end. I'll have this endless debate with Piers Morgan about Cristiano Ronaldo being the best player and all this sort of reductive conversations.
You'll never talk him out of that.
Who cares? They're both Messi and Ronaldo are both brilliant players. We can admire them individually, can't we? But I just think that it's Spain's game to win. But I think it will be a great game, and I think that the Portuguese got some brilliant players, and I wouldn't put it past Ronaldo to do what Ronaldo does if he gets a chance. But I can't see past the Spanish.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. You can watch the games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com. Plus, for a chance to win a Village Hotel VIP experience for the World Cup final at a Village Hotel near you, head to talksport.com/win.
talkSPORT's big match build-up with Village Hotels. Watch the big games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
after that US-Bosnia match on Wednesday, where Andrew Giuliani, who, if you've been listening to White and Jordan in America last week, actually joined Jim and Simon for a fiery conversation. He initially alerted Trump to the fact that a red card had been given. On Wednesday night, the lobbying began from senior US officials. And then on Thursday, it's believed Donald Trump called Gianni Infantino and asked about FIFA's rules around the red card decision. Now, FIFA insists the decision was made by an independent panel made up of 18 people. However, it hasn't said whether this was decided through a vote. It hasn't published a report on the decision. The US Soccer as well say they've been engaged with the process, but argued slow motion replays distorted all of it. But essentially what we're seeing as the hours from this unprecedented incident come through, that there was multiple instances of contact between senior US members of the government, including Donald Trump and Gianni Infantino. And interestingly, Thomas Tuchel was asked after Jarell Quansah was sent off, what precedent does this set for him?
Where does this start and where does this end now? Can we overturn it or not overturn it, or what
is that something that
what is going on?
You'll seek to pursue, because, like you say, there's surely a chance. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, where to draw the line is the question that I ask. I have no answer to that. Where does this end now? Do we appeal if a yellow card is not a yellow card? Do we think it's not a red card, or who thinks it? Where does this start and where does this end? Is my question. I don't have an answer.
Let's be honest. You should have put the phone down on Trump when you phones him.
Yeah, but
you never would.
But when you create a FIFA Peace Prize just specifically for Donald Trump, that suggests that there's a close relationship.
And the Belgian coach, Rudy Garcia, somebody amongst many things that he said, we're not defending them.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Where are we now? 3:20 on a Monday afternoon. The sun is shining and it's Wimbledon fortnight. Let's head there now. Here's Lisa.
And we're just watching Alexandra Ayala with set point against Jasmine Paolini. That one's just been saved here on centre court. As I say, Paolini, the number 13 seed, taking the first set 6-4. It's 4-5 in Ayala's favour in this second set. Over on court number one, bit of problem for Alex de Minaur. He's now 2 sets down to Flavio Cobolli, who is looking to follow up on his first appearance in a Grand Slam final after a great performance in Paris. The Italian 7-5, 7-6, 1-2 in the third set. We've already seen Elise Mertens and Marta Kostyuk win through to the quarterfinals today.
Lisa, thank you very much indeed. Simon, I want to throw a couple of things at you in this one. With the theme, how would I describe it? Redemption, second chances. How far should it stretch? Jack Grealish, we hear, could be handed an opportunity to resurrect his Manchester City career after new head coach, Enzo Maresca made it clear he's open to keeping him at the Etihad. In a similar kind of situation at Old Trafford, Michael Carrick reportedly has not shut down the possibility of Marcus Rashford returning to the fold with Manchester United, despite being shipped out, as we know, on loan to Barcelona following a fallout with Amorim. We remember him. I mean, redemption, second chances, how far should it stretch?
Well, I got the impression that Jack Grealish doesn't need redemption. He just wasn't considered good enough for Man City anymore. And so that's a different dynamic in terms of Rashford. Rashford made his bed. Rashford spent inordinate amounts of time complaining about his lot, from what I can recall. Did press interviews after meetings with Amorim where he decided that he wanted to leave the football club, and endlessly carped about the unfairness of what was happening to him, and created a reaction between him and the fan base. So that's one version of redemption, which means, has Marcus Rashford had a change of mind? Is he going to knuckle down and apply himself and be the best version of himself for Man United? The Jack Grealish situation felt like that it was decided that Jack Grealish was a bit part player at Man City anymore because he couldn't do the things that maybe the team required of him at that particular time, despite Pep Guardiola being able to achieve lots of things with him, which I saw Jack Grealish do when he was there, when he turned Jack Grealish into a player that was more rounded, that worked harder for the team, that wasn't just a maverick that played for Aston Villa that can make wonderful things happen. He formed part of a side. And I remember watching it at the Etihad when they played Arsenal and they beat them, I think it was 3-1. Grealish was such a component part of that side, but worked so hard, and it was surprising to see him do that. And clearly that was the relationship we had with Guardiola that had made him into a more rounded player. And I got the impression that it was a combination of the team had moved on, Grealish was no longer part of it, and it wasn't anything Grealish had done. He hadn't done anything. It was just a case of his ship had sailed.
At United,
until he went out to Everton.
I get where you're going with it. At United, regarding Rashford, and at City regarding Grealish, if you're part of the hierarchy, do you allow Messrs Carrick and now Maresca to wipe the slate clean?
Well, part of me would say yes, because you let them make their own mistakes. Another part of me would not want them to allow them to make these mistakes, so then got to clear it up for them afterwards. So it would be a simple sentiment, right? You want to go to bat for this? This is where we are with this person. Less so Grealish, right? But if you're going to try and sell somebody, it look like you're going to bring them back in the fold first because it looks like they're valuable, and then you might get some more money for them. So there's always a bit of optics going on there. But I would suggest that my conversation would be, if I wasn't ideologically aligned to a problem, i.e. he had not offended me, he'd offended another manager, and I was sort of ambivalent at the time and gone, well, what does the manager want to do? I want him out of here. Okay, that's what you want to do. Okay, he's out of here then. Then that's what you want to do. In this instance, if another manager comes back to me and says, well, I want him in here, I can't have one position with one manager which says I want him out of here unless I'm the person that's been offended. If I'm the owner of the football club and I've personally taken exception to what this player has done and repeatedly done under an avalanche of managers, I might then be turning around and saying, no. This ship has sailed. This player has alienated the fan base. With due respect to what you want, I'm out there. I'm going to buy you lots of different players. You're going to get all the money you require to buy players. Do you really want? So just make me clearly understand this. You really want to put your name to this kid, right? You want to put your name on this one. You want to own this one. You're going to be part of this kid's redemption. That's on you, is it? That's what you want. Because if it comes on top and there's a problem, I'm going to come looking for you. Now, do you still want to do that? And if the manager says yes, because the player can do this, that, and the other, then you should, as an owner, go, okay,
sure,
on you, or you could actually say, do you really want that? Because I'm going to help you save yourself from yourself.
Right. Here's one for you. We've been hearing from Lisa
two inexperienced managers
at Wimbledon. Yeah. Let's carry this theme on in the world of tennis. We all know what happened with Boris Becker. He was declared bankrupt in 2017, 5 years later sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for hiding £2.5 million worth of assets and loans to avoid paying taxes. He wrote a book about going to jail and about what had happened to him. In fact, Boris Becker was even on talkSPORT talking about it. This was Becker when he came into this building and spoke about his ban from the UK.
In hindsight, you always know it better. Of course, there's a strong amount of regret. You know, if I would have known for the things I've done, I would have been incarcerated. I wouldn't have done that. I think I served a very high price for it. I'm sorry. I apologize. But we all got to move on. I'm allowed to have a second chance.
So that was Becker being quite open and candid about it, Simon. But the terms of his early release in 2022 led him to be deported to Germany and meant he was unable to return to the UK. Yeah. Djokovic last week called on the UK authorities to allow Boris Becker to return to Wimbledon because of his, quote, special connection to the Wimbledon tournament.
What's it got to do with Djokovic? I mean, I know he coached him, right, back in the day.
They worked together, you're right.
Oh, no, I saw them together in Spain repeatedly. Every Christmas they were there for 2 years because they did their warm season weather for the Australian Open in Marbella, so I saw them there regularly. But he's a criminal. with respect, he got released from prison early. Go back and do your full sentence then, if that was the conditions of your release. You know, and he was a recidivist. I loved Boris Becker as a player. I admire him as a player. I don't admire him as a man. One of my, I would say friends, but a long-time acquaintance, John Caldwell, was one of the guys that lent him money that Boris decided that he didn't have to pay back or didn't have to have conditions. This is not someone that didn't do this on purpose. This is someone that, with due respect to the fact he's an elite tennis player, you might want to look into his life a little bit deeper to work out if he's an elite human being. I'm not sure that's the case. And I also, the rules that apply to everyone else apply to Boris. Just because you're a superstar tennis player doesn't mean that you get around reneging on commercial deals, hiding assets, defrauding people out of tax returns. So you want him back into the country where he was ultimately avoiding tax because you like him, Novak. Okay, fantastic. But it's not up to you.
It's not up to Djokovic, but I know where you're going with it. But and I get what you're saying, Simon. But Djokovic, it's kind of that's what friends are for, is it not? I mean, he says, for me, Boris Becker's a very dear friend. I really care about him and his family. I sincerely hope he'll be able to be allowed to come back. He's the youngest ever men's champion. He has a special connection to this place. I don't know if this can help. I hope that the authorities will consider that.
Okay.
Now, the same Djokovic can sit tight and say nothing. But it's chosen to speak on behalf of his
Maybe he's got a special relationship with people getting deported, given he was deported out of Australia once. Maybe he feels the empathy there. And maybe that's the reasons why there's... But listen, if he was so worried about Boris, why didn't he help him out economically at one particular point? All these people that parachute in with their worry about people, but never really there to help people.
Right, so never mind Grealish, never mind Rashford. Does Becker deserve redemption?
Well, he was let out of prison. He was given redemption. He was redeemed early with a condition.
Those were the terms of his release.
If you wanted not to have that as a condition, why don't you stay in to serve your prison sentence? Did you dispute the validity of your prison sentence? Because when Boris was on there, and again I make the point, I admire him as a tennis player, and I'm fascinated by him as a character because his decline is almost Shakespearean at times in terms of the places and things that he's done in his life and the circumstances in which he finds himself in. I mean, this is a great tennis player that made so much money, that was the hero of Germany. And at one particular point, when Becker was winning Wimbledon, the whole of Germany was watching him and supporting him. To end up incarcerated is a hell of a downfall. And I know it's not there to be judged by people's failings and say, well, there before... You know, there, by the grace of God, goes lots of people. But he was a repeat recidivist. He was somebody that did this repeatedly and endlessly. He wasn't just made bankrupt by the HMRC and then subsequently. He was given inordinate amounts of warnings and inordinate amounts of opportunities to rectify. And he continued to do the same thing which lots of elite sports superstars do, which is A, plead ignorance, and B, think the rules don't apply to them.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, he suffered the consequences of it.
Do you think Wimbledon misses him anyway?
I think
really and
I
truly.
think when you've got great when you've got great personalities, they're always a miss because people are so, society is so vanilla now because people are so frightened of saying anything, and when they do say something, they're frightened of the consequences of it. So when you've got people that speak their mind that are characters, and Boris and John McEnroe and other people are characters like that, but does it need him? No, of course it doesn't need him. Could it miss him? Of course things can be missed, but he's kind of made his bed. And if he wanted to have not made his bed, he could have stayed the full term. You can't have it and say, well, I accept the premise of getting out of prison early. I accept my prison sentence. I know that I did wrong. I know that I must be punished for this. Right. And here I am in prison. But by the way, I can get out of that easy by accepting the conditions of a country that no longer requires me here because I breached their laws. And now all of a sudden I might want to come back in and I can solicit my well-heeled friends to be advocates for me. That, to me, feels like the rules don't apply. We're just talking about the rules don't apply for US soccer and President Trump. We can't say the rules don't apply for Boris Becker. And as sad as it may be, who is the architect of Boris Becker's current predicament?
Even he couldn't deny that.
And if he's had plenty of opportunity, and I think, and for John Caldwell to have lent him money, by the way, it was amazing. for that to be the case and be given opportunities, it means to me that, you know, Boris Becker is where he deserves to be.
Sorry, Boris. Not yet, mate. Not yet. Jim White, Simon Jordan on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation.
Andros, there was a lot of standout performances, wasn't there? You know, look at Gordon, I thought was fantastic. I thought Saka done well for the first goal. Pickford, outstanding saves as well. But Jude Bellingham, I mean, 4 goals, 1 assist, 3 man of the matches so far in this World Cup. How good is he, mate?
I think so far this tournament we've seen an energetic Jude Bellingham. He hasn't been at his majestic best with the ball, but this morning, last night, he was amazing. The way he was jinking past defenders with his trickery, wiggling out of 2 or 3 players. It really was one of the best players in Europe. It really was a really top performance. But for me, the man of the match was Anthony Gordon. I know he's had his criticism, but that energy and intensity he brought in and out of possession, I don't think England really needed it, because we didn't have it with the altitude. Not many players had that energy. So to see Anthony Gordon closing down people, especially for the second goal, when he got England up the pitch, his 1v1s, he was dominating them. His delivery was good. It was really pleasing to see.
Yeah, look, he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, you mentioned it there, Andros, you know, with the altitude and the huge effort that went in, particularly with 10 men. Are you concerned at all about how much is left in the tank for Norway?
To be honest, I think we need to just enjoy this. Let us enjoy this for 24 hours. Let the boys rest and recover, and then we can start thinking about Norway. But they also had a tough game against Brazil a few hours before, so it's not like they had 24 hours or 48 hours longer to rest like Mexico did coming into this game. So I think both teams will be feeling it. It's been a long old tournament, an extra game added as well. So yeah, let the boys recover, and then we can start thinking about Norway in the next 24 hours or so.
We all know that in history, Pele's a GOAT. He's won the World Cup 3 times, the only man to have done so. But let me tell you about the one he didn't win, and that made him quit World Cups for good. Ahead of the 1966 World Cup in England, Brazil were favourites again. They won in both 58 and 62, meaning a historic three-peat was on. But their opponents all had plans to stop Pele. Bulgaria set a trend in the first group game. The instruction? Take Brazil's main man out of the game. Pele came away so battered and bruised he couldn't even take part in Brazil's next match against Hungary, which they lost. He returned for the next one against Portugal, but they channeled their inner Bulgaria. This is one of numerous brutal challenges throughout the 90s. Remember, this was pre-substitution, so Pele had to hobble on before being carried off at the end. It's even tough to look at now. Brazil lost and were out in the group stage. Speaking years later, Pele still had sore memories. At the time, he said he'd never play at the World Cup again. FIFA responded by introducing subs and red and yellow cards. Pele did come back in 1970 as part of the greatest team in World Cup history.
Football form roundup on talkSPORT with Sky Bet. The world's gone football. Get in on it with Sky Bet. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Now we're going to talk F1 very shortly, but first we're joined by Michael Shinners from Sky Bet. And I tell you what, I cannot wait to hear about this. we have a big winner, I think, regarding England. Do you want to put some meat in the bones to that, if you will, Michael?
Yeah, I certainly will, Jim. I mean, to be fair, there was plenty of winners last night. When you've got Harry Kane, you've got Jude Bellingham scoring for England, loads of action, loads of goals. But yeah, we had one customer who had a builder bet. So he's put in 9 selections. I won't go through them all, but essentially he's backed Kane to score, Bellingham to score, Jimenez to score, Saka to assist. He's backed England to win. He's gone over corners. He's gone over goals. He's placed £20 on this, and he's turned £20 into £19,000. So fair play to them. They'll I think they'll have certainly slept well after that, going through the emotions. But yeah, phenomenal bets, to be fair.
Simon, I mean, you got to heartily congratulate somebody that thinks that lot out, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What are you thinking about Spain-Portugal?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the draw is the obvious one, Jim. The last 7 times these two teams have played each other, they've drawn 6 times. Back in 2018, they drew 3-3 in the World Cup. Ronaldo scored a hat-trick. Yamal was 10. So, plenty's happening between them. But, yeah, we've got Bruno to have a shot on target, boosted to even money with ourselves. But Spain favourites 20-23, Portugal 3-1, and it's 13-5 the draw.
Okay, interesting. The one we've been talking about, of course, USA-Belgium. I wonder if we get Balogun, first goal scorer. Where are you going with that, anyway?
I tell you what we do have, Jim. We've got Balogun to get booked or to get a card. He's 11-2 now. Whether or not it'll stand or not, who knows? But yeah, he's 11-2 he's 11-2 to get carded. But probably one of the tightest of the last 16 games. This one, USA 7-5, 9-5 Belgium, and 12-5 the draw. We boosted Trossard and Tielemans to have a shot on target each at 3-1, and obviously that runs through to the 120 minutes should it go into extra time. But feels like it's really sort of hotting up the tournament now, and certainly that chap who's won 19 grand, I think he might even be popping over to America to watch one of the games, perhaps.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Well done him. Michael, thank you very much indeed. That was a look at the latest odds thanks to Sky Bet. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Football Form Roundup on talkSPORT with Sky Bet. Download the Sky Bet app and get in on it with Sky Bet. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Sam, it was interesting in the world of F1. Christian Horner made his first appearance in the F1 paddock at the British Grand Prix yesterday, 1 year on from his Red Bull sacking. Horner left his dual role of Red Bull team principal and chief executive after leading the team to 8 drivers and 6 constructors championships. So he had a fair degree of success in his time there. He received, nice if you can get it, a £75 million payout, but chose to take less money than he was potentially available to receiving in order to agree a shorter period of time before he'd be allowed to return to the sport with another team. So he returned as a guest of Stefano Domenicali, the Formula One president and chief executive, and Mohammed Ben Sulayem, the FIA president. So what is this all about? Well, let's find out more. Formula One journalist Rebecca Clancy joins us live. What's your reading of it, Rebecca? Does Formula One miss Horner? That's question 1. And maybe question 2, is he now a moth to the light and nothing more than that?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me on. Interesting question. Does Horner miss F1 more than F1 misses Horner? He was, he was the villain. He was sometimes the good guy. He certainly riled people up the wrong way. I think what the sport misses is the rivalry that he had with Toto Wolff, the Mercedes team principal. They used to wind each other up. They had plenty of war of words between them. I think actually Toto Wolff has said that he does miss having Christian Horner around. But I think for Horner, we're all expecting him to come back into the F1 paddock, not just as a guest. I think he'll be back with some form of job. But he has said that it will be on his terms. So, as you mentioned there, 12 months ago, he was fairly unceremoniously sacked by Red Bull, the team that he led to all of that success that you mentioned. He still feels like he has unfinished business in the paddock. I think if he returns, it won't be as an employee. The chatter, the rumours, I was in Silverstone at the weekend and lots of talk about how he might return. Looking to be a shareholder. Toto Wolff obviously owns a third of Mercedes. We looked at Adrian Newey going over to Aston Martin. He's the team principal there and obviously chief designer. He has a stake in the team. And this is a big thing at the moment within F1. It's having an equity stake so that you can't just be shoved out the door as and when, you know, the power at the top decides that your time is over.
It's interesting what Rebecca's saying.
Well, you can be still shoved out the door, as Daniel Levy proved in football. But what you do
Well,
is,
true.
what you actually do is when the value of the proposition grows, so does your potential interest in it economically. Because one thing, getting paid a certain amount of money, and the business gets bigger and bigger and bigger. If you get equity, then you grow with the business.
Yeah.
What is the value of a Christian Horner? What does he bring to bear that might be so valuable to anybody else?
I mean, you've read out the stats there about how much he's won. You can't deny the success that he's had within Formula One, how he gets a team together. He had a period of success, 2010 to 2013, absolutely dominant. And then it fell away as Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton came through and dominated the sport. But he was the person who remained at the helm and took that Red Bull team back to glory again with Max Verstappen. So he's proven time and time again that he can build a team up from scratch. Red Bull came into the sport. It's just an energy drink. It has no automotive history or heritage, and a lot of fun was made. And
But it has a big check. But it has a big checkbook, though, doesn't it? In the same way that it has with
incredibly
football.
big checkbook. Yeah. But now we have budget caps within Formula One,
Right.
so it is completely different to the sport that Horner first got into. But he has managed a team under the cost cap, and I think any team, and we know there's a lot of chatter at the moment about Alpine in particular, owned by Renault, that he may get a consortium together. He'll lead that consortium to buy into Alpine, and it's just the experience that he has and the success he's had. And there's only 11 teams now. There aren't many people in the world who have done that job, and he's got the CV to say that he's done it successfully.
What about Netflix? They'll want him back, will they not, Rebecca?
Oh, yes, I'm sure they have absolutely missed him. They were following him around everywhere all of Sunday when he was there. Horner was saying he was on the grid. He misses it, but he doesn't just want to be hovering around the grid as a visitor. He wants to be there. He said he was a competitor at heart. That's what he wants to be doing. And you can absolutely guarantee that Netflix will want the fireworks that tend to come with Horner.
Okay. F1 journalist Rebecca Clancy, thank you very much indeed. He's an intriguing figure, Horner, is he not?
What he wants to be is he wants to be an owner with other people's money, I suspect. A bit like Andrew Neil wanted to be the head of GB News and then realised that he wasn't going to be a media baron on other people's money, and that ended poorly for him. It would be interesting to see if someone like Horner can raise enough money to put himself in a position where he becomes an owner, because it's the logical next step, isn't it, for him? And it's interesting I wouldn't mind getting sacked, would you? If someone was offering me a £75 million payout, it doesn't feel like a sacking.
No,
it feels like, okay, we've reached the end of the road, and perhaps some of your behaviours put yourself in a position where we're all compromised. But here's £75 million, and
well, he could have got more.
Well, to be fair to him, he backed himself. What he's saying is, it's easy. I suppose if you're going to get 75 million, you say, well, I'll take 50, and if you let me out of a non-compete earlier, and I can then go back into the sport, because if they had a non-compete for 2 or 3 years, but it's a nice position to be in where you say, well, I'll take 50 rather than 75 if you can go back into the sport, and allow me to do something elsewhere.
Yeah, indeed.
Fair play.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First stop, Toolstation.
Carlo Ancelotti, has he got a future as Brazilian coach?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think so. I think it's very much within Brazilian culture to the minute things don't go well, to ask for the coach's head. And I just don't agree with that. I think Ancelotti came into the team. He got the job with less than a year for the World Cup. So he didn't really have the time when you compare with guys like Didier Deschamps, who is at France for 14 years, or Luis de la Fuente, who's been with Spain since 2022, or Solbakken, that eliminated us with Norway since 2020. So I think we should give the man some time to have a proper cycle, for 4 years to work and find his players, find the right schemes. And he just didn't have that. Brazil's cycle right now was completely a mess. So no, I don't think we should call for his head. I think he definitely has a future with Endrick and Estevão and all the young players, Ryan, all the young players that Brazil's got coming up.
Samir, I've not been very impressed with Brazil throughout the World Cup. I wasn't impressed with them yesterday either. 34% possession for Brazil. I don't think that's acceptable for the players that they have. And how can Brazil be playing a 34-year-old Danilo at right back out of all the talent that they've got in that country?
Yeah, I agree with you on both ends. I think 34% for Brazil, it's weird, especially when you consider Brazilian history. It's a team that likes to have the ball, that knows what to do with the ball. So when you see Brazil giving the other team, with all respect to Norway, hovering around 70% of the ball possession, yes, it's definitely weird. I think if it's a strategy, like it was Ancelotti's strategy, because up until a certain point in the game, Brazil wasn't being dominated by Norway, right? It wasn't balanced.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're bowling up to our goodbye time of 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is unusual for us, Simon. Normally it's 1 o'clock lunchtime. But hey ho, that's how it is at the moment. And how it is at the moment is Lisa O'Sullivan is at Wimbledon. Lisa.
Yeah, and we've just seen Flavio Cobolli go through to the quarterfinals at Wimbledon for a second year running. Big AS Roma fan, coached by his dad. He's put Alex de Minaur out, 7-5, 7-6, 6-3. A very polished performance from Flavio Cobolli. Here on centre court, an absolute cracker. We've one set all. Alexandra Ayala serving now 3-4 on serve in this third deciding set. We've got Roger Federer, tennis royalty in the royal box. Coming up after this, it'll be Grigor Dimitrov against Britain's Arthur Ferry in the Battle of the Wildcards.
Lisa, thank you very much indeed. Back in the US, Simon, we discussed how the American Federation couldn't afford to bankroll Mauricio Pochettino's contract, so enlisted the help of private investors. In fact, you probably recall, in the World Trade Center that morning, we were joined by former US international and entrepreneur Kyle Martino, who explained exactly how that happened when he joined us.
I played a seemingly big part. I was on a text chain with a few buddies of mine, Scott Goodwin, Aleko Eskandarian, Sean Feeney, some UVA boys, played soccer together. And the typical talking a little bit of trash and being upset and frustrated with how things were going with the U.S. I stayed mainly in the background watching and throwing a argument out every now and then. And Scott said, we need a world-class coach. And Aleko said, well, I'll introduce you to soccer if you're going to pay for it. And he said, well, yeah, introduce me. And I'm like, this is a joke. There's no way this is actually going to happen. Scott got a meeting with U.S. Soccer, said, if you can get one of the top handful of managers in the world, tell us how much that is. And a buddy of mine, Ken Griffin, will come in and I don't know how much, but we'll help pay for it. And I mean, this joke of a text exchange 3-4 months later was breaking news that they went and got Pochettino.
So they got Pochettino, and that's how they did it, Simon. I remember speaking further to Kyle Martino when we went off air the other day in New York. Martin Samuel, Simon, in the Times, referring to that very deal, Scott Goodwin and Ken Griffin's wealth secured Pochettino, just as Kyle explained. Welcome to the clubification of international football. It's no longer where you're from or even where you're at. It's who's got the most money. It's club football with the delusions of nobility. And he said...
Where's the delusion of nobility in that? I mean, you've got a nation...
Well, in the next sentence, Martin says, what made the international game different is that a federation couldn't buy its way out of trouble. Couldn't match the skill level of Spain or France. Okay, tough. Do better, build a programme, develop your own L'Institution Clairefontaine or your own La Masia Academy. He's saying it's on you, the International Federation.
In its purest format, he's right. But we've got nations that are well seeded in football, that have they've got massive domestic leagues, that have their massive talent pools, that are funded by money. You have subsequently then coaches that are developed that are funded by money. You've got a nation like America that's coming into it now, so it's trying to fast track it. So from a totally purist, slightly pious view, of course he's right. The clubification of international football. Well, you know, we see FIFA getting involved in club football by doing the FIFA World Club Championships. There was already an investment and involvement into that. But I don't know why there's a surprise about this, because the whole thing is about money. The whole sport is about money. The World Cup,
international level as well.
Well, that's why the tournament's in America. That's why the prices are what they are.
So is it wrong to frame international football as a more pure version?
Yeah, probably
of football today.
It's idealistic, and it's not necessarily wrong, but it's slightly idealistic. And people will say, "I want to cling on to my ideals because I think they're valuable to have." But if they are unrealistic and they're not reflective of the times, and if you've got other countries that are so far ahead of you because they have had the sport. And I understand his point of view, which is develop your own system, develop your own coaching framework, invest in it. But you haven't got a sport in America that's playing football. We want it to be the global sport of the world, but it's competing in its own country against NBA and NFL and seeded narratives.
Yeah.
It might not get that opportunity to be so prevalent as it is in other countries. So what does it do? It recruits its best talent from elsewhere. And to some extent, why is the Premier League so fantastic from a club? I know this goes into Martin's argument. The reasons why it is because it's taken players and coaches and owners from all around the world. So what we're asking for is a football tournament that's been hijacked by FIFA because it wasn't the FIFA World Cup.
Yeah.
It was the Jules Rimet Trophy. And FIFA have overtaken it, turned it into the FIFA World Cup and turned it into a money-making machine.
Sure.
So is there any surprise that the nations are within the confines of it? So what's the argument for Ancelotti then being recruited, despite the fact because the Brazilians are well heeled financially, so they can afford to pay him because they've got 100 years of Brazilian football being the elite end of the game.
Yeah.
The Americans have no years of that.
Right.
So that's why I would put a counter argument to Martin's point of view.
You and I were speaking about FIFA. How could we not at this particular time? We were speaking about them earlier. The USA go in against Belgium in the early hours of tomorrow morning, and the USA striker Balogun has had his one-match suspension overturned, thanks in part to the intervention to FIFA by the US government. We heard that a US government official had confirmed that President Trump placed a call to FIFA President Gianni Infantino before the governing body decided to suspend the striker's ban for 1 year. And quite rightly, Simon, you questioned, well, that US government official, you know, how much can we take that on the level that he did confirm Trump placed a call to Infantino? A short time ago, Trump himself spoke about Balogun.
You know, it's one thing to penalize somebody for the game, but how do you penalize them for a game that hasn't been played yet? It's very unfair. You can't do that. So, yes, I asked for a review by FIFA. I spoke to a man who's highly respected, and by the way, whose level of respect has gone up tenfold All I did was ask for a review. I didn't say you have to do this. This man is a smart, tough man. Gianni Infantino. He's a smart, tough man. And his stock has gone through the roof because the job he's done has been great. And I feel we have to have all the best players on the field. You can't take the best players.
So now that's in a situation where it's absolutely unequivocally non-debatable. So now you move into the situation of what are FIFA doing? It's been clarified that Trump did make the phone call, and there are no ulterior motives behind someone within the confines of a spokesman advancing an opinion. Great, fantastic. We're now on a solid footing. So now we move to the real issue, which is what the hell are FIFA doing? How have we got to a position where Trump can make a phone call, Infantino can then convene a committee when there's no process for it, and allow this to go on and create legislation on the fly?
Yeah.
So we get to the final part of the conversation, which is the part I always want to get to, is why did something happen? Then we can work out how it happened and where it's going to take us. And now we know that Trump did make this phone call and it's categoric, then ultimately the question goes not about Trump making the phone call, because we all know that Trump will push the envelope. Why have FIFA acquiesced? Why aren't FIFA accounting for this process and saying to us, well, we did this? Because if Trump's to be believed, because we know, and I accept the point that when Trump phones you up, it's not because he wants you to consider something, it's because he wants you to do something.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Typical deal negotiator.
Yeah.
So I didn't ask him to do something. I just probably gave him about 17 reasons by my pauses in the conversation I had with him that he had to do it.
Yeah.
But why does Infantino think he has to do it?
Yeah.
And why is he prepared to put the integrity of the game in jeopardy by doing it?
Sure.
That's the bigger question.
Be interesting the next time a camera's in front of Infantino, and we might get that very question answered. Well done, Ben Jacobs, who broke the story that indeed a US government official had confirmed that Trump placed the call to Infantino. And there's Trump himself saying, you bet I did. Stay tuned for World Cup Game Day Drive as Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent are live from New York City, and they'll be joined by Nigel Rio-Coker and Brad Friedel. We remember both of them, Simon. Live from Buddy's Bar to build up to Portugal-Spain, which you can hear live on talkSPORT at 8. In terms of memorable England performances, where does that one rank?
Well, listen, because